Only outlaws wear neck gaiters.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, July 26, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1263.
This is No Agenda.
Under Chinese attack. And broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody, I am Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where today's word of the day is yummers. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, before we get to being under Chinese attack, before we talk about the word of the day, we have an economic Zephyr car report.
Yes, the Zephyr went by just before we started the show, and it had 8 normal cars and then 2 attached private cars. 2, not 1. And one of them I've never seen before. It looked like an old Great Northern green. It was green with a big Vista dome,
wow.
A big almost end-to-end, a beautiful car. And then the last one was an old Zephyr observation car, which I have seen before. That car gets rented.
So how do we interpret this for the market? Obviously, a CNBC
well, they're spending money. Somebody's spending money. These cars aren't easy to haul around.
That's right. But I mean, we've got an 8-car stable, but we have 2 bonus cars. That means there's got to be something lurking under the markets that no one is seeing.
Either that or the rich are just blowing their money because they know it's all over.
When I went on the lake with my buddy a week ago, we went wakeboarding, wake surfing. And what I noticed was everybody who has money in Austin, which are the people who live on the lake, they upgraded their gear. There was new boats, new jet skis, people with those Mark Zuckerberg surfboards that are motorized. Everyone's got toys out there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Well, it doesn't mean... Well,
I'll talk it over with Horowitz. Maybe we can figure it out.
Okay. Well, then even before the Chinese attack, tell me about the word of the day, yummers.
So I got up a little earlier and I had made breakfast, and so I watched Cooking with Sarah. Yeah. And they're cooking some Mexican-style foods that are very interesting. And then one of them says yummers. And then later, Sarah hands this guest to cook a napkin with a napkin ring on it, hands it to her, and the woman says, "Napkins, yay!" So that got me off to the wrong foot right away.
Is that something that is peculiar in her household, where they have napkins, yay? I mean, what is going on there?
It was beyond me. So I turned it off in disgust.
I can imagine. Well, the reports are not good. It was I think the news started to break first here on the No Agenda show just a few days ago. And now the entire United States appears to be under a seed siege.
This woman says she didn't remember ordering anything from China.
I hope that it's nothing too serious.
The label said earrings, but something else was inside.
Well, obviously they're not jewelry. And I opened them up and they were seeds.
But why would there be mislabeled seeds from China in her mailbox? She didn't think much of it at first. Then she found out this is something the State Department of Agriculture is investigating seriously. And she got some stern advice.
Just don't throw them in the garbage. Don't plant them. Don't touch them.
Plants and seeds in Utah are regulated strictly, which is why agents with Customs and Border Protection could also become involved in the investigation.
So I received emails from all around Gitmo Nation, but only the United States portion. Virginia, Utah, even Lubbock, Texas, from soon-to-be Dame Ginger Snaps, who, by the way, says there's not really any problem with corona, doesn't know what the news reports are about. And everyone has more or less had the same experience where seeds just show up, they're labeled as earrings, and it's unclear what these seeds are, and no one paid for them, and they're just sending them off. As in regards to the earring part, Patrick, who is he is a longtime listener here in Occupied PDX and a licensed custom broker, he says, I'm able to chime in as to why people believe they're receiving packets of seeds that are marked as jewelry, probably because the Chinese are declaring them as jewelry to get around the USDA declarations when it comes to importing seeds into the U.S. That would make sense. Agricultural products can require import permits, and phytosanitary certificates. Phytosanitary? I've never heard of this word. Woof. That are time-consuming to obtain and often end up having to be sampled and or fumigated upon arrival. So I'm just thinking, since this was unsolicited, people have not ordered something, and these are not just people who order seeds in the past, they're just showing up. I think this is some kind of new under-the-radar attack that we're witnessing from China.
Couple of things.
Could you turn on your speakers a little bit for me? Just a tad. Thank you.
Had done. Couple of things.
Yeah.
They are sending them, or they are coming over here randomly, and there's enough reports that it's true. Most of these areas have a local university with a botany department.
Oh.
These seeds could have been identified, or at least it should be at the university botany department. Somebody should be looking at them. Some seeds are you can identify what the plant is by the seed itself. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of possibilities here that. The reporting is so shallow. It's just beyond me how this stuff even gets into the news. This should have been identified and reported on long ago.
Yeah, well, obviously they haven't. So I'm just calling it now before anything, if it turns out to be true, then we look like geniuses.
Unless you can identify what it is, and you can't because nobody seems to want to go through the effort. I think this story is somewhat bogus. Now, I don't know why they're sending these seeds. Or, maybe it's some invasive species that they want to... I mean, it could be a number of things. One, it could be an invasive species that's designed to choke off the country and kill us all. Mm-hmm. It could be a man-eating plant. It could also be some Chinese vegetable that when they take over the place, they can come over here and have plenty of food to eat. I mean, this story is stupid.
Oh, it's not stupid. There's... exactly what you're saying. It's being mishandled, and we don't know what it is, and we should. So there's no story other than it's happening, and it's very odd. And I just think that it's worth noting. But okay,
I do understand the idea of marking things differently, which everybody does, by the way, not just the Chinese.
Yeah,
we do it. The Canadians do it. Everybody does it.
Yeah, but I hate the Chinese right now, so it fits into my.
So we got some
chamber.
notes. I got some notes. We got a note from Dame Catherine Sutton down in Bangkok, Thailand. She's irked with our hating on the Chinese.
Oh, okay.
So I said to her, "Don't listen to today's show."
So please stay away.
Apparently
from the
wisely,
program.
But I mean, I have stuff. I got the bit of the Pompeo speech, which was the final of the group.
Yep.
Nobody picked up on. Nobody wanted to report on it. So it's not like anyone. In fact, it's only our show that seems to be hating on the Chinese. The rest of the media loves the Chinese because they're getting money.
Yeah.
I would recommend people go to 60 Minutes Australia and look at all their reports on China.
Oh, those guys have been all over China for the past couple of years.
Apparently, there's no money flowing to them, and so they're just ripping them, and with some really good reporting. In fact, one of the guys got arrested 2 or 3 times trying to get some of these reports out.
Before we go into that, just a quick little. COVID-19 update, coronavirus? Well,
actually, I wanted to do the COVID-19 stuff first because our donations are way down.
Yes.
And that's because we didn't start and open with COVID-19 in the last show. We didn't even hardly discussed it.
Well, there is news. And there is news from Texas. As you know, we are one of the central hot spots where we open too early. We're run by a Republican governor. We're idiots down here. Stupid.
You're idiots.
So 2 days ago, the news came out. I think it was actually right after we finished on Thursday. And it was this headline, big, scary headline. In southwest Texas, now doctors are putting triage panels together to decide who will get treated and who will die.
Death panels.
Death panels, yes. In the article, it said death panels. So this is concerning. Now, I know that certainly on the border towns are out of control, mainly because most of the inhabitants there who have a culture of hanging out and partying, I'm looking at you, Latinxers, they do not social distance. And so it's like 65% of everybody on border towns who has any issue is Hispanic. But this particular town where this report comes from, I look into it and said, okay, so they're being overrun. They have more cases. It's out of control. They're out of beds. They're out of ICU units. They're going to have to start deciding who to kill. And I look a little deeper. This is a 17,000-person community. They have reserved for COVID 8 beds and for COVID 13 ICUs. That is not their total maximum, but seriously? So that's what they're saying now, is that they have to triage because patient number 9, you have to die. There's no other hospital in Texas that can take care of that person. But listen to how Rolf played this on CNN. Disgusting.
I understand hospitals are so overwhelmed in one county in southern Texas so that doctors have to choose who to send home to die. What are you learning?
What are you learning?
Hey,
what are you learning?
This is happening in Starr County down there in South Texas, an area that has been the hot spot within this Texas hotspot. County officials there saying at the county hospital in Starr County that they're going to create essentially ethics and triage teams to go through the patients and determine which patients can be treated there at the hospital and which patients might be too sick to be treated and have to go home and wait to die, essentially. This because the number of COVID patients has exploded there over the course of just the last month. County officials say they didn't have any COVID patients about a month ago. Now they have more than 1,400, more than 40 added to the rolls there yesterday. So a great deal of concern there. Hospitalizations and deaths up. The number of overall new cases is beginning to show signs of plateauing, but there's still disturbing details in this medical data. Here in Dallas County, the county judge announced that one of the people who died today was a 5-year-old child.
Well, I see that John dropped off, so I'm just going to give him a second. And I want him to hear the last bit of that clip. I'll wait until he comes back. Okay, you back?
Yeah, I just lost you.
Yeah, I saw you go. All right, I'm going to play the last bit of the clip for your humor.
The number of overall new cases is beginning to show signs of plateauing, but there's still disturbing details in this medical data. Here in Dallas County, the county judge announced that one of the people who died today was a 5-year-old child.
Oh, so they start off this report with total bull crap, make it sound like this is the end of the world, and then end up in Dallas and a child died. It was 5. Come on. Now, of course, that sucks. But this is fear porn that's being created here. It's really gone too far now. Or maybe not far enough for them. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I have another a little tidbit here. Another one of our females that are listening to the show, another baroness of New York.
Dame Tanya.
So she says,
yeah, you only have to read the bottom part of that note. Or no, the part where she's very disturbed.
I'm not a dame overboard. I'm still listening and producing the show, hence the current donation. But at this point, 2 of my friends' mothers have died from COVID-19, and very recently in Miami, and her dad is still in the hospital with it. But thankfully, it appears he will recover, knock wood. And yes, they both died of COVID, not of something else while they were infected. Also, I know one young and previously very healthy person who got COVID and survived, but continues to suffer for weeks on end with an incredibly difficult recovery. I do believe the numbers are fishy, yes. Do I believe that there are shenanigans going on with every aspect of this? Of course. Do I believe that all manner of douchebags are taking advantage of this for their own purposes? Yes. However, real people are actually dying or being greatly harmed. I don't remember hearing anything like this level of sickness or death in the past with the seasonal flu. Okay, a couple of things there. I'm going to stop. I'm going to read the rest of it.
Correct.
During the Obama administration.
Correct. You don't hear about it. Correct. That's exactly the problem. Sorry.
You never heard about it because they never talked about it. And because when Obama was president, they stopped the testing, they stopped everything. The media just shut up. And they let people die with no discussion. And during the major flu season that we did have about 2 or 3 years ago, the one that killed Jerry Pornell, an associate of mine, and a number of other people that I personally knew.
And the John Perry Barlow, he got pneumonia from the flu and died.
Yeah, and John Perry Barlow's another guy. It was all from the same strain of the seasonal flu, and I knew these people personally, and they were younger.
And they died. And they died.
Purnell wasn't.
Yeah. Well, Purnell
but then no discussion whatsoever. And whose fault is that? Anyway, she continues. So when the vibe of the show leans toward a sarcastic and dismissive, ha, 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 anyone who thinks COVID is serious is a moron, unquote, it's really painful.
I don't think we've ever said that.
We've never said that. We don't play there's no such thing as COVID, and there's never been a case of COVID. There are websites that do that.
We spent an inordinate amount of time in the first 2 months. In fact, I was almost up Dr. Birx's skirt with their numbers until I found out that she was a fraud and that they were defrauding the people with their numbers. So we've been very, very, very much on this. I've never said it ha, 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 anyone who believes in it is morons. I'd love to hear that piece.
Yeah, you find me a clip. It's really painful, she continues. It hasn't been as bad as the past few shows. The past few shows it hasn't been as bad as the past. Last show, we didn't even talk about COVID, but okay. But I have to say, as much as I may have vehemently disagreed with one or both of your views in the past, this is the first time I've ever felt ashamed to be connected with the show.
I could not sleep from that one line.
I know I love you guys, but I need to get that off my chest. Another couple of quick things. Then she just talks about N95 masks.
Well, if I can just say.
Sure.
So we've all suffered through this, and many people suffer through other things. You know, we laugh about homelessness, yet deal with it. Many of our producers are homeless at the moment. We laugh about stupidity when it comes to the opioid overdoses, which you haven't heard much of right now.
Which is getting worse by a lot.
Of course it's getting worse.
Series of clips if we want to discuss that.
Well, we shall, but I just want to finish that if you want sympathy and, oh, it's horrible, then you just can turn on the television. If you want to at least be able to laugh with two people who don't take themselves all that seriously and laugh about everything, then you have to be prepared at a certain moment. There's going to be something that affects you or that you've been affected by, and it's not going to be that funny. It's just not.
Now, a couple of things.
We love Dame Tanya otherwise. I mean,
I'll give her some slack for one reason.
She's in
Where
New
is
York.
she located?
She's in New York. It's insane right now.
Well, and not only is it insane in New York, it always has been. She's got a mayor who's a lunatic and a governor who's an idiot.
Yeah.
And she is surrounded by New York media.
Yes, exactly.
And so you can't walk outside. You can't take a walk down the street if you
can't have chicken wings.
You can't do anything without being inundated with this negative. I mean, New York is like a test tube for this.
Yeah.
Just the New York Times and this bullshit, and the New York Daily News. The most of the Trump haters, we don't even bring them up in the conversation much. Everyone trying to elect Biden, and you're surrounded by this in New York. And everybody I know in New York is borderline nuts.
Yes. I was going to say Tom Starkweather, Tom, he's been holed up in New York with his partner, Alexandra. And it's so bad right now. He says when New Yorkers are outside, all they talk about is the nut job, restaurant policies, the housing prices. It's so bad he had to make a mix. It's just so and all this, what is a restaurant, what is a bar, what is food, what you can eat, what you can't eat. That's really showing how nutty it is. And the mainstream, including probably your New York media, New York One would be the worst, I'm thinking, is the city with the worst death toll is lauded as the best performer. And if you look at Texas and Florida on the list of just match it up against countries, we're down at like 25. With New York number one, more than that's per million people. So and we're the idiots, and look at us. I mean, this is all political, and you're right. Slack needs to be given because you're being played, you're being programmed, and we'll have several instances in this show when it comes to big pharmaceutical industries and the Chinese, why you're either not being informed or misinformed, because the mainstream media is just shutting up about some of the most important things happening right now and taking you right back down the fear porn path. And they're good at, and it's happening everywhere. In the UK, oh my God, end of the world almost. End of the world. Boris Johnson, so apparently testing is up, something is up in Spain. So where does everybody go when they live in the UK on the island? They want to take their valuable pound and go over to invade Europe, which they've never been able to do, invade Europe, and and be Brits on the beaches of Portugal and Spain and Greece, etc. Well, now because of the horrible uptick, all of a sudden Boris Johnson says, "Oh, when you come back, you have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks." And the Brits who haven't gone yet are incredibly pissed off. And why? Because they're testing more. They're ramping up the tests. It's the exact same rollout that the media is doing there. Masks are now mandatory in almost every single country. My nephew sent me a note yesterday. Says, "Oh man, they're talking second wave. They're talking shutdown." That's in the Netherlands. We're being played. It's obvious. The numbers don't add up.
Well, they definitely are contradictory. The numbers we're given from one source or another are slanted in weird ways. They use a lot of percentage thing. That report that you did with Brolf was a good example. You've got a little area that's got, a small hospital, and apparently nobody can. You're in the part of Texas, and I guess it's so far away from every single metropolitan area in the entire state that you can't move them to another hospital.
Oh, they've got airlifts going already.
No, it's death panel.
Not possible.
It's not possible. They're gonna die at home, and this kind of thing is out of control, and it's just continuing for the purposes of electing Joe Biden.
Now,
I don't care what. Yes, people. We never said COVID does exist. It's a lab creation, so it's impossible to deal with. And I have no evidence to the contrary that it's not a lab creation, except for the one letter to the editor that went to one of the magazines, which we discussed before. And so this thing is created by the Chinese or in conjunction with us. Yeah, I believe
possibly.
There's none of this is provable, but it's just you can deconstruct it. And see
here's the thing that concerns me, and this was Tedros on Friday. So Tedros is the non-doctor who calls himself Dr. Tedros, the shill in the World Health Organization, and he gave his little speech. I just took the first minute and 20 seconds, and you'll get the idea very quickly where he's pushing all of this towards.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
He is the most important man in the world, which is why you need to address every time zone.
More than 15 million cases of COVID-19 have now been reported to WHO, and almost 620,000 deaths.
How many deaths?
As we have said previously, political leadership and community engagement are the two vital pillars of the response.
So it's not about testing, not about vaccines, therapeutics. It's leadership. Again, leadership.
One of the tools governments can use is the law.
The law.
Not to coerce, but to protect health while protecting human rights. Yesterday, WHO, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and Georgetown University launched the COVID-19 Law Lab.
Since you probably can't understand what he's saying, he says
no.
They launched in conjunction with George Washington University. They launched the Law Lab. So there's a lab for law, the Law Lab.
A database of laws that countries have implemented in response to the pandemic. It includes state of emergency declarations, quarantine measures, disease surveillance, legal measures relating to mask wearing, physical distancing, and access to medication and vaccines.
So what they've done is they are now helping everyone and saying, well, look, if you need a law for masks, just come to the lab law. It's pre-written. You can just plug it right into your own little constitution, whatever you want. We're here for you.
Well-designed laws can help to build strong health systems, evaluate and approve safe and effective drugs and vaccines, and enforce actions to create healthier and safer public spaces and workplaces.
This is the harmonization. They're all on the New World Order train. Like, all right, let's give everyone the same laws.
Yeah.
It's complete. I don't know. It seems pretty obvious to me what they want to do. I don't know how far they're going to get.
They're not going to get as far as they
not this time around. That's for sure.
Oh, but they keep taking shots at it. Shots on goal. That's how you finally get your score.
Well, let me tell you where the scary shot came for me. One of our EMT, I'm not sure exactly where he works, sent me the newest ICD-10 codes. Are you familiar with the ICD-10 codes?
No, I have. Oh, yeah, I know that what you're talking about is 10-4, 10-22.
No.
10-86.
No, that's the 10 codes. ICD-10 is the 10th revision of the International Statistical Classification of Disease and Related Health Problems. So it's an international code for every single ailment and treatment, therefore, so that there's no confusion if it's an ICD-10 code that it says something that's going to be standardized across the world. This comes from the WHO. They publish it.
And this is done for the purposes of billing?
Billing and for distribution and for your patient record. And so our producer sent me the new codes that have just been added to the ICD-10. And I don't need to give you all the actual codes, but I'll tell you what they mean. So there's one code for has immunity to COVID-19 virus. One, high priority for COVID-19 virus vaccination. So this would be attached to you. You would get this code, which means you have a priority to get the vaccine. There's a code for if you have the history of 2019 novel coronavirus disease. So that would be antibodies. But then there's also virus not detected, virus test result. I can't read it, so small. Equivocal, virus test result unknown, virus vaccination contraindicted, virus vaccination
contraindicated.
I'm sorry, thank you. Contraindicated. What does that mean? Contraindicated
means you can't mix. It's like this drug is contraindicated if you're taking that drug.
Oh, okay. And then my favorite is COVID-19 virus vaccination declined. So that will be on your record if you decline to have it.
And that stinks?
Yes. There's also vaccination not done and vaccination not available. Yeah, that does stink.
Well, the records belong to you. You can pull those records and just bury them.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, I know. That's what I think, too. We didn't do... I had a clip. It's gone. I've just come a couple shows ago. We should mention it, just as we're going to discuss just a little bit more. Now that they've been looking at blood tests over the last 6 or 7 months, just random blood tests. It's just blood, because people are getting their blood tests all the time.
Right.
And they now think that half the population's has COVID antibodies.
Sure.
I believe it's probably true. The other thing that doesn't get discussed, I've noticed, is that COVID, which is related to the cold, just a common cold, this time of year in particular, this is a summer colds or COVID.
Yep.
Or
coronaviruses.
Similar. And they haven't been discussing a number of factors about, you can't, for example, there is no vaccine against the coronavirus that causes the common cold.
No. They've not been able to make one.
They can't make one. So does anyone actually honestly think they're going to make one for this? It's a coronavirus. You can't make a vaccine against it. It doesn't seem to respond. And secondly, which they have stopped talking about, they talked about it a couple of months ago. They don't talk about it anymore. I don't know why they're doing this. I mean, the media makes these decisions at the editorial level. You catch the common cold a lot. You don't catch it once. You catch it again and again and again.
That's the nature of the coronavirus.
Some people don't catch it at all, but some people catch it all the time.
Yep.
So is that going to be the same thing? I mean, that's what they were talking about earlier, if you remember. They were talking about catch it over and over and over.
I think that's why you're seeing Gates and Fauci backpedaling a little. First of all, I'm semi-convinced the president is gaslighting. And he's saying, it's going to be great. We're going to have a vaccine very soon, because he knows it's not going to come. And he just wants to show them all what failures they are. And that may fit into some strategy that I'm looking at that is possible. He certainly can't actually believe that's going to happen. And I would say, considering how smart I think he is, that's pretty dumb. And they're now saying, well, it may be 50%, it might have 50% efficacy. You'll probably have to take one, a booster, and then maybe next year. And of course, it's just another flu shot is what they're making. Another damn flu shot, only a little more urgency behind this one. And you got some cool codes.
Well, with Trump, I kind of agree, because, at one point you always have to remember he's not a trusting person.
No. And he's sounding real confident about this. Oh, yeah, vaccine's great. It's great.
And so he's not a trusting person. That's why he has so many family members and very close confidants working with him. He does eventually trust people, I think, like Mnuchin, I think he trusts right to the limit.
Yeah.
And Wilbur, probably. But the rest of them, everyone else that works for him, it's like, show me what you can do, and then you get fired and you get replaced.
Right.
Like crazy, which is a management style people always like to condemn him for. But so you might be right. Maybe he just thinks he's gaslighting everybody.
Yeah,
it's possible.
It doesn't, and he always falls back to say, but the therapeutics. I'm really excited about the therapeutics. He's really he always says remdesivir. He really means hydroxychloroquine. Even Newsweek had a big story about how effective hydroxychloroquine was. I thought I was going to fall off my chair. I know you have a couple of clips, maybe just since we're talking about the vaccine. I thought it was pretty funny. Gates was on with Bill Gates, Dr. Bill, was on with Anderson Pooper and Sanjay Gupta. And I think the idea of the segment was to tell everybody not to listen to conspiracy theorists who are saying horrible and fake news things about Dr. Bill. But it kind of turned into, and it was very weird. And it starts off with Pooper with this intro. It's obvious they want everyone to believe in the vaccine, and that's why Bill is there. But I just think it took a weird turn. Here's Anderson Pooper setting it up. It's three of them on the box: Dr. Bill, Anderson Cooper, and Sanjay Gupta. A picture of that showed up, calling them medical experts, which I had to tweet that. It was so hilarious. Because I don't think Anderson Pooper or Dr. Bill are actual medical experts. But let's have a listen to the intro.
The top 10 videos that spread lies about you had almost 5 million views. It's also pointed out that according to Signal Labs, which is a media analysis company that tracks this, misinformation about you is the most widespread of all coronavirus falsehoods. So there's a conspiracy theory.
Wait. I missed the premise. What?
The premise is about conspiracy theories.
No, but can you just start it over?
Yeah, sure. Right. So he's talking about how many videos of conspiracy-minded videos of Bill Gates are online. And so,
it's about Bill Gates.
It's about Bill. Yeah, it's about Bill, but that's what I'm saying.
Start it over for me, please.
You got it.
The top 10 videos that spread lies about you had almost 5 million views. It's also pointed out that according to Signal Labs, which is a media analysis company that tracks this, misinformation about you is the most widespread of all coronavirus falsehoods. So there's a conspiracy theory that one of our viewers asked about. I just want to play that sound.
What would you say to the fringe portions of the public, like conspiracy theorists, that seem to think that you're somehow responsible for the outbreak?
I love this is so good.
I love it.
Let's bring in some audience. It'll look really authentic.
There's also a conspiracy theory that you're pushing vaccines because you're going to inject people with a tracking device when they get the vaccine. It's all part of a so-called globalist plot to control the world. QAnon folks are, which is actually a group that's been targeting me as well lately.
Oh,
they're claiming falsely that I'm somehow connected with Jeffrey Epstein and global cabalists of sex traffickers. It's insane. What do you say to people who believe this stuff? Because I'm sure you.
Why did he have to throw that in? What's that got to do with anything?
Well, that's what's interesting about these three clips is he keeps talking about himself, and in the end, it comes back to himself. So he's very. And I did look at the manifest. I don't think Anderson Cooper is indeed on the Jeffrey Epstein flight manifest.
No, but he may be in the testimony in the documents that they're going to release.
I know, the unsealed testimony. Well, let's finish here.
What do you say to people who believe this stuff? Because, I mean, I'm sure you are inundated.
But that's interesting. The question he asks is, what do you say to people who believe this stuff? Right after he says that, he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. That's interesting that he leads with that for this question.
That I'm somehow connected with Jeffrey Epstein and global cabalists of sex traffickers. It's insane. What do you say to people who believe this stuff?
Now he's asking the guy who actually he's asking the guy who was on the jet, I think 6 or 7 times, maybe even more, even after he was convicted. So Pooper is bringing this up because somehow he feels some kinship with Bill, and I think he's hoping for Bill to debunk it or something because Anderson is being targeted. This is his problem.
Well, hold on a second. How about another idea?
Okay.
Which is that Anderson is warning Bill.
No, well, let's go through the clips and we'll see.
Okay,
Epstein and global cabalists of sex traffickers. It's insane. What do you say to people who believe this stuff? Because, I mean, I'm sure you are inundated by people direct messaging me just insane stuff.
Okay, so that's his intro. More about him, really, than Bill. More about him than vaccines. But let's let Bill get to it. I did take out some pauses. I edited here and there. I took out a couple of the You can actually see his in a waveform. It looks like an X-Acto knife. It's very interesting. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, the combination of having social media, spreading things that are very titillating, to have this pandemic where people are uncertain and they prefer to have a simple explanation. It's meant that these things are really millions of messages a day, and people like myself and Dr. Fauci become the target. Often the clever thing they do, our foundation has given more money to buy vaccines to save lives than any group. So you just turn that around. You say, okay, we're making money and we're trying to kill people with vaccines or by inventing something.
What part did not make sense that he just said there? I mean, yeah.
All of it.
And at least it's true. We're associated with vaccines, but you actually, sort of flipped the connection that we have there. I hope it doesn't create vaccine hesitancy. I hope, this whole story of innovation that's going on, that we do get the benefit of that. It's really the only good news I'm bringing you today is that the diagnostic, therapeutic, and vaccine innovation, these amazing private sector companies, without the coordination you would have liked, but they are doing it.
Oh, you hear that? You see, because I think the company that is out of the gate first is not part of the Gavi alliance. So that's why he slips in wasn't with the coordination we would have liked, because he didn't get to coordinate it because it was the Germans.
Without the coordination you would have liked, but they are doing it. And I do think people on the therapeutic side will be surprised. And, these are well-meaning people. This is a time where people are doing great work. And, so I hope the conspiracy stuff dies down. It's really, the numbers kind of blow my mind. And it's not just the fringe people that you would normally think of.
Oh, it's not just the fringe people. So I detect a little bit of fear.
What was that about?
Well, let's see. Because it's not just the fringe people. He thinks that there's other people who are, what he says, vaccine hesitancy. That's a nice word.
It's also going to surprise the therapeutic people.
I have no idea what he meant by that. But let's play the last clip and maybe we will learn more.
It's not at all. I mean, I can tell you, I get stuff from people who seem, they have lives, they have families. I don't know if they genuinely believe this or they've just been misled. But, and for me, it's, they claim I was on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane and going to his island with Tom Hanks or just insane, crazy stuff.
So is it insane if Tom Hanks went by himself? Without you? Is it then not insane? Or is it just insane because you were with Tom Hanks?
What do you...
Why is he... Well, this is... He's got... No, you nailed this. He has got some... He's seriously worried sick.
He's fucked. And Bill Gates will refer to him at the end of this clip.
Tom Hanks or just insane, crazy stuff. Do you think... I know internet companies are looking at this. Do you wish that they would play a role in taking stuff down?
Please delete the stuff that says I'm evil.
Just as demonstrably false? Because, I mean, it does have real world, it does have real world impact on vaccines, or, a nut showing up to a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. with a gun.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, in some cases they are taking things down. It's a bad combination, a pandemic and social media and people.
Because you can't control the messaging, Bill. That's why it's a bad combination.
A pandemic and social media and people looking for very simple explanation. Who's the bad guy here? And a lot of that's been connected to politics, more in the U.S. than in other locations.
Bullshit.
And, of course, vaccines weren't popular with everybody even before this all started. So I'm a big believer in getting the truth out, and but it's kind of not as titillating to say, Cooper's innocent. Why
does he bring it back to Cooper? Cooper is innocent. I think what Bill is saying is, bro, you're in the same boat as me. Listen.
It's kind of not as titillating to say, Cooper's innocent. That's not as exciting. You don't forward that to quite as many people as you do the accusation.
Yeah.
I think Bill was just saying, why did Anderson not say, why, your name was also on the flight log? It's not like he doesn't know this.
They're talking to Gupta and Gates about vaccines, and Anderson Cooper keeps coming back to his role in the Epstein affair. This is really bad.
It's bad if you got something to hide, which, I don't know, man. Cooper feels...
Nobody knows what she said. The thing that's coming out, we have some clips about this. In fact, I have a series of clips about this specific thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I got the whole thing. I get a very good report from ABC that discusses what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and what is going to happen with the people that are the John Does that are going to be named.
Right.
And it's very interesting. And I think Cooper's freaked out because he thinks he's one of them. And there's 100 of them. There's 100 of them. We'll play that after we're done with this. But meanwhile, it says we kind of
slipped away from COVID.
I want to play something that's kind of on topic. We'll go back to COVID, but I want to play this. This is a long clip, but this is Jordan Peterson, this is from somebody unearthed this hour-and-a-half discussion with this horrible woman from GQ magazine in London, the British version.
Now, is this old? Is this new or old?
It's from 2019, I think. Okay. Maybe it may even be from earlier, maybe from 2018, but it's from within the last 2 years. And I've never seen it before. I've seen most of his stuff. And he is just mad at her, and he's just giving it to her. But in the middle of it, he goes on a kind of a sidebar discussing Twitter that I thought, which is a social network that causes these same problems. And I don't think this is complete because it's not a sociological study, but it's a clip that's worth listening to because it gives us a little more insight or at least some thoughts. And it also kind of explained away the reason I kind of stopped posting on Twitter. I still post the
show, obviously,
notices for the show, but I don't go back and forth on it because it's just a waste of my time. But let's listen to Jordan Peterson.
Twitter is a strange social network. I've kind of pulled myself away from it. So it's not an easy place to conduct yourself with as much grace as you might. And I think it sort of rewards impulsivity because maybe it's because of the constraint on characters or something like that. So I think that people tend to show their worst on Twitter, and some of that's a consequence of the structure of the technology.
I think I certainly agree with you. I think that's something that we agree on there. I think people are rarely at their best on Twitter.
No, and I pulled myself away from it quite a lot in the last month, mostly to see why. I kind of kept an eye on Twitter, all the social media networks for the last few years, partly to see. Well, I'm trying to monitor what's happening around me, I suppose, is probably the right way of thinking about it, and to see if I'm making mistakes and how they might be rectified. But I don't think Twitter's been good for me, and I don't think the reply function on Twitter is useful, and I think the fact that so many people on Twitter are anonymous is not a good thing at all.
Do you think you'd be less angry if you weren't on Twitter? That's something I think quite a lot. I would come into contact with less things that annoyed me on a daily basis.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that. Yeah. I think that's definitely the case. And I've talked to other people who've pulled back from Twitter and experienced the same thing. I don't know what it is exactly, but there's something about Twitter that seems to really heighten the desire of people to be provocative. And maybe it's the case that only people who are feeling irritable respond. We don't know. Like if you put up a post and 1,000 people read it, certainly 1,000 people don't respond. A few people respond. Well, maybe it skews way over to those people who had a bad day. Like, we have no idea, right? Because it's a communication channel that no one understands. We're not evolved to understand it. We're not evolved to use it. We can't interpret it. Plus, you're interacting with random strangers, which is something you never, ever do. And it's never the same set of random strangers. And you don't react to Twitter like it's random strangers. You react to Twitter like it's a person that you know. And it isn't.
Why doesn't he just say that being on social media is basically a psychotic activity?
It
is. It's a psychotic activity.
He's working on it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Do you want to do any more COVID stuff?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I want to do some more COVID stuff because I got clips.
Yeah.
They're working COVID every which way now.
Yes.
Let's try a couple of quickies. This is the COVID immigration. This is relating COVID to immigration. This is on Democracy Now!, of course.
In immigration news, 2 whistleblowers at an ICE prison in Louisiana have revealed officers have knowingly deported immigrants who had temperatures as high as 103 degrees Fahrenheit and likely had COVID-19 by deceptively covering up their symptoms. Under ICE policy, immigrants with temperatures above 99 degrees Fahrenheit cannot be deported. But one of the whistleblowers says staff was instructed to blast an air conditioner to, quote, freeze them out so sick immigrants could pass the temperature check in order to be deported. The U.S. continued to deport thousands of people despite their symptoms, contributing to a rapid spread of COVID-19 in Central America and Haiti. The whistleblowers work at the privately run Richwood Correctional Center in Louisiana, where at least 69 people have tested positive. 2 guards have died. Mother Jones reports the whistleblowers also allege LaSalle Corrections, the private prison company that runs Richwood, prohibited staff from wearing protective personal equipment, forced guards who likely had COVID-19 to work while awaiting their test results, and regularly exposed healthy prisoners to people who had been exposed.
I'm very disappointed in this report from Amy. I think she could have at least added, not that they're deporting, she says they're putting these people with 103-degree temperature in cages and then freezing them out. That would have been better. Come on.
The thing that got me in that report was, it's like one of these jokes where there's just one word out of place, and the word in this case was Haiti.
Yeah.
Are we getting people down the southern border coming in from Haiti? How does that work?
They're swimming.
It doesn't make any sense.
I think that since the earthquake, there's still a open visa. So the people of Haiti are allowed to come to the United States and just hang out.
Well, it's not the same group.
Yes, people who came from Haiti.
This was very poorly done. Let's see what she has a good job of pumping the numbers too. Let's play COVID cases doubles.
Ooh, it doubles everybody.
Nationwide, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases has topped 4 million, as the number of cases has doubled over the past 6 weeks.
And it's so interesting that they just keep pushing it. Most people have kind of figured out, like, okay, I mean, yeah, the cases have doubled, but it's just not the same. It doesn't feel the same. I think the numbers don't look the same. They just keep pushing. The
deaths haven't doubled.
No, you just got to throw in the end somewhere. A 5-year-old child died in Texas. I mean, just say
that works.
Just like that. Oh man, we're in trouble. This is massive mind control on
And here's the last report I have here is this is, and I'm not sure where this came from. This is from last show. COVID cases low.
On Tuesday, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention revealed the actual number of coronavirus infections nationwide may be 24 times higher than the public count. This comes as the Trump administration is opposing more federal funding for COVID-19 testing. The White House has refused to spend up to $8 billion already allocated for testing, even though many states and cities face severe testing shortages.
And the testing shortages, it's the same over and over again. I just don't see how it's true. What shortage? It's like, from time to time, I hear on MSNBC them still saying, not enough PPE. Are you kidding me now? This is just, I think that they're going all out.
They're trying to stretch it to November.
Yeah. Germany braces for second wave amid rising infections. I thought Germany did everything perfectly. They're perfect.
Yeah, it's because it's run by a woman.
Yes, women do much better. Mask update. I can tell you I'm seeing the writing on the wall that bandanas and scarves and neck gaiters will be outlawed pretty soon.
The neck gaiter.
Yeah, I'm seeing local stories.
I haven't even got mine yet, and I'm just going to be outlawed.
Well, unfortunately, the Disney stores...
Only outlaws wear neck gaiters.
That's why we like it. The Disney store refused one of our producers' entry. They did offer him a different mask.
Wait, what?
They offered him a cloth mask.
So if you walk in with a mask they don't like, they'll give you a free mask?
At the Disney store, yeah, apparently.
Let's go!
Free. Need a mask? Yeah, that's a good one. Need a mask? Just walk on in. Let me see. Do I have anything else here? No, I mean, otherwise, well, there's some organization who's nonprofit, one of our producers has been looking into Masks for All. Hashtag Masks for All. They're pushing. They got about $400,000 to push masks. Tell everybody we should have masks everywhere all the time when we're outside, just as standard fare. And did I have anything? Oh yes, see on the vaccine side, we have Xi Jinping writing a thank you letter to Bill Gates for doing such a fabulous job. I guess they're trying to combat some kind of bad information about Bill. And I'm seeing a lot more of the what's plan B, as the press is now, they don't really have any more news to work with. So
they're running out of material.
Yeah, they're running out. So, vaccine, when's the vaccine coming? The kind of, the vaccine, like, so it's exciting. It's not exciting. Nothing's going to happen for months and months and months, if ever, as we already discussed. Something did happen yesterday, and I just want to get this out of the way now because I think it's an enormous thing that happened money-wise for American citizens. It was not only not covered, it's expected not to be covered. And yesterday when I was watching the announcement, even Fox News, I don't think MSNBC and CNN were carrying it live. Fox News cut away from the president that the minute he started to give the details of what was actually going on. And there were, I don't know if you heard about it because it wasn't really reported, 4 executive orders that the president announced and signed yesterday. Did you even hear about this?
Of course not.
4 executive orders of massive magnitude that I think is a game changer, which makes sense why none of the channels would carry it. The reason why Fox News cut out at the moment it became clear what was going on and went straight to COVID coverage. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of that. I was just too astounded by, boom, they were gone. Is because it was about the pharmaceutical industry, more importantly, drug prices. And I learned an incredible amount about the scam that's been going on for 30 years, which the president has changed for at least until November. And I think that's why he has several different executive orders, the 1, 2, and 3, and then the 4th one he might or might not sign. But the minute it came down to the numbers, the savings, the American consumers of pharmaceuticals, the minute that number was announced, everyone who was carrying it cut away. Of course, we can't have that with all the advertising money come from the entire industry, but certainly also the insurance industry, who is really the bad actor in this. Only we're only going to focus on the back door of the insurance industry, so it doesn't look like they're the assholes. But let's get into the first executive order the president announced yesterday, and I can tell you exactly where Fox News even cut out.
The 4 orders I'm signing today will completely restructure the prescription drug market in terms of pricing and everything else to make these medications affordable and accessible for all Americans. The first order will require federal community health centers to pass the giant discounts they receive from drug companies on insulin and EpiPens directly to their patients. You know, insulin became so expensive people weren't able to use it. They desperately needed it. We have it to a level that you're not going to believe. EpiPens, likewise. You've been reading horrible stories about EpiPens over the last 6-7 years. Horrible, horrible, horrible increases where they went from almost nothing to massive amounts of money. We're changing that right now. These providers should not be receiving discounts for themselves while charging their poorest patients massive full prices. Under this order, the price of insulin for affected patients will come down to just pennies a day. Pennies a day.
This is where Fox News cut out. Boom, they were gone. Back to COVID-19. We've got problems in Texas. I wish I had clipped it. It was so obvious. They had to go away the minute he says, hey, the price is going to come down to pennies a day.
For affected patients will come down to just pennies a day. Pennies a day from numbers that you weren't even able to think about. It's a massive cost savings.
So this is obviously to get seniors on board and vote for him. And the mechanism that's being used is interesting. I believe somehow when the Supreme Court issued the order that Trump could not deport DACA kids, there was some Supreme Court ruling, and they said, "Oh, okay, you can't do that, or not in this manner." And I remember him tweeting and yapping about how incredibly important this was, because now the executive order power had just become that much stronger by an exponential number. And what he's doing here is cutting out the middleman, going directly. And this is only for these 2 medications, but they're the ones that have been most associated with outrageous drug costs, for the EpiPens and for insulin. And you had people coming up later with, horrible sob stories. They have to take shitty insulin that they can afford because the good insulin is too expensive for them. Now we go to the second executive order. This is something that he promised years ago, and I guess some states have already been working on it with him. He's going to laud DeSantis of Florida for this, but this is allowing states to go direct.
The second executive order I'm signing this afternoon will allow states, wholesalers, and pharmacies to do something other politicians have promised for decades and decades, but never done. They never delivered. We will finally allow the safe and legal importation of prescription drugs from Canada and other countries where the price for the identical drug is incredibly lower. It's a difference like you wouldn't believe. 70%, 80%, 90%, 30%, but massively lower than the identical drug made in the same plant, the same factory, the same exact drug, same everything, same box, same pill, and yet it's 50, 60, 70% lower.
This is something
that is what?
Bernie was all over this.
Exactly. This is what gets me every single time. It's like, this is exactly what other candidates have been yapping about. And he just, of course, it's an executive order. It can go away the minute Joe Biden is president. I'm sorry, the minute his vice president is president. They can just, cut it out, obviously. But this is exactly what everyone was complaining about.
And yet it's 50, 60, 70% lower. And this is something that Ron and I have been discussing from the time Ron got elected, and I've been wanting to do it. And it takes a long time from a legal standpoint, and we've got it all worked out.
so this, there were laws for 30 years, pretty much, maybe longer. There have been laws on the book that forbid, it's the whole insurance market, the pharmaceutical market. It's very anti-competitive. They have regions. States just can't go and do a deal with another state. Your insurance carrier can't operate in all states. It's all divvied up. It's a huge cartel.
Yeah, it's a scam.
Well, it's a rigged system, and this third executive order is a doozy. I really had no idea that this was going on or how this works, and now that I've looked into it, it's the big secret.
The American people pay an average of over 3 times more for medicine than the Canadians. Many people go to Canada. I see it all the time. They go to Canada to buy drugs, and then they come back. Prescription drugs, because they save so much money. The trip is well worth it. I'm unrigging the system that is many decades old. We're doing something that should have been done a long time ago. The third revolutionary order I'm signing today will prevent middle men and women, I guess. But you've heard about the middleman, right? The middleman that makes so much money nobody knows who they are. Nobody has any idea who they are. They make more money, perhaps, than even the drug companies themselves. And the drug companies, in all fairness to them, big pharma. And they're doing a great job in the vaccines. They're doing a great job in therapeutics, I can tell you, because I deal with them a lot. But I think the middlemen make more money than they do, and they don't do much.
Okay, so before I finish that clip, I found a short instructional video, what the middlemen do. And the middlemen have a name. They're called pharmacy benefit managers. I'd never heard of this, but the pharmacy benefit managers are essentially a data project, a data warehouse, who sit in between your insurance company and the drugs that you need. And they manage everything. They manage how much you're getting. They manage the shipment. They manage your profile. And they also manage the buying. So that they can buy in. The idea is they buy in bulk. They put down big sums of money with guarantees, and then they take a 2% fee, and then send the bill to your insurance company. So they buy the drugs on one hand in bulk. They manage everything. They get the prescriptions. It's the whole operation there, which really is nothing more than buying and selling. They take 2% fee and then pass that on to your insurance company. So you think that you would be paying 100% plus 2%, 102% for the same medication that they're buying. There, unfortunately, are at least 4 scams. I have 3 of them here. This is just quick explanations. The first one is the rebate scam.
The spread game. Tom,
I'm sorry, the spread scam. That's the first one. Where is it? Yeah.
The spread game. Tom just had his prescription filled at the local pharmacy, for which your PBM paid a total of $10. However, your PBM invoice reflects a $100 charge for that same drug in addition to its $2 administrative fee. Therefore, you pay a total of $102, resulting in a net of $92 retained by the PBM for managing that particular prescription. PBM represents the drug costs paid to the pharmacy as being $100, not the actual paid amount of $10, allowing PBM to retain the extra $90 without its client's awareness.
I'd say that's kind of scammy, a $10 drug, and they're popping 92%, $92 on top of that. The second scam is the repackaging scam. I think this is what Express Scripts does.
The repackaging and repricing game. The PBM pushes your health plan and Tom to their mail-order pharmacy by offering you deeper discounts and or elimination of the administrative fee, and offering Tom to reduce or eliminate his copays. Because the PBM repackages the drug, they can now arbitrarily assign a new AWP price of its own choosing with no obligation to inform the health plan. For example, the Lipitor prescription at a retail pharmacy costs AWP $441, minus a 15% discount, plus a $2 administrative fee, equals $376.85. When repackaged and repriced, the same medication ends up costing AWP $684, minus the 20% discount, plus a $0 administrative fee. That equals $547.20. Mail order pharmacy costs the health plan $170.35 more than the same drug dispensed by a local pharmacy.
And then the final one that at least I thought was interesting was the rebates.
The rebate game. Tom's health plan won't pay for his $20 generic anti-acid prescription, but will pay for Nexium, the $148 brand name drug for the same concern. The PBM pays the pharmacy the $148, with $10 of a $50 total drug manufacturer rebate going to Tom's health plan, and the remaining $40 returning to the PBM. This arrangement costs Tom's health plan $138, instead of the $20 for the generic drug.
So those are the scams, and when you start reading about, there's not a lot of information. You'd be surprised about these PBMs or pharmacies.
And by the way, I want to mention this. These kinds of scams, and there's lots of, and there's one little other element, especially in that first scam, where the guy gets 2% of the drug price, is that if you start doubling and tripling the drug price, the 2% becomes a lot more money.
Yeah, but the 2% is just a joke. The 2% is a joke. It's a joke.
Kind of a joke.
It's a joke.
But 2% is what I remember when they were doing testimony years ago. Blue Cross came out in front of the California State Legislature, and the woman was testifying said, "All we do is, and it's always 2%. All we do is make 2%.
Yeah, bullshit.
They said we hardly do anything. We just make 2%. But the thing is, the 2% of the $1 billion in profits is a lot of money." But then everything gets jacked up and hijacked, and they run all the prices up.
Doubled and tripled.
The 2% of $10 billion is quite a bit of money. This is so rich.
But you're missing one. The 2% is nothing. They're buying the drug for 10.
No, I understand that. The 2% is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's 800%. 800% in some cases. So Trump put the kibosh on this.
Tell you because I deal with them a lot, but I think the middlemen make more money than they do, and they don't do much. Maybe they don't do anything. Some people say they don't do anything. Nobody even knows who they are. But the middlemen are making a fortune, and pharmacy benefit managers and people are just bilking Medicare patients with these high drug prices.
Bilking the government.
Well, they pocket gigantic discounts. Gigantic discounts. The amount of money they've made.
The other element in this, he says, they're not really bilking Medicare patients.
No, it's Medicare fraud the way I see it.
That's fraud. Exactly the way I see
Medicare,
it.
Yeah,
I am paying, I have Medicare. I go in and I pay my $10 or whatever it is for a $200 prescription. And you see it on there. They say they have the price, $200. Oh, geez, a good deal. But I'm not the one paying the rest of it. It's the government. It's the taxpayers.
Yes. And I see it as fraud. Now, it's like another 45 seconds of the clip. But it's important to understand how we got here. Because this was all locked down. It's almost like the performing rights organizations. Only these people you can only buy from the approved pharmacy benefit manager. They're the only ones. It's all segregated. And why have these laws never changed? Because all they have to do is take 10% of all this bonus money they're making and put it into campaigns. And Bob's your uncle. No, nobody wants to change that. It's a groovy system. And I really want to know who these pharmacy benefit managers are. Trump says he doesn't know them. Because they should be tarred and feathered.
Locked up.
Well, they pocket gigantic discounts. Gigantic discounts. The amount of money they've made over the decades is too incredible even to speculate or say. It's massive. Some very rich people are not going to like me very much today, I can tell you. I probably know them very well. I probably see them in Palm Beach. But nobody ever talks about who they are. I hear the middlemen for years, the middlemen. Right, Alex? And he doesn't know who they are either, but he knows they're rich. And they're not going to be so rich anymore. Because the money is going down to reduce the price of drugs, prescription drugs. That's a big thing. That's a tremendous step. It should have been taken a long time ago, but they have a great deal of power. And I don't have to tell you how many phone calls I've had in the last few days when they heard I was going to be doing this. I've heard from people that I haven't spoken to in a long time.
So this is such a double whammy because the insulin and the EpiPen, that will affect people's pockets immediately. This other, the third executive order with the PBMs, that kind of should be rolling out September, October. But just think about it. This is exactly, I mean, it's hitting two of Bernie's points. The cost of it and fucking the rich people. I mean, he might as well just go, hey, and be Bernie. Only it's a solution that is not Medicare for all, which of course would only mean more in the pockets of these people and the politicians that support the legislation that protects them. And he just did away with it. And you wonder why it wasn't reported on. Because that would clinch it for him. The seniors, all the old people, and just because you said you had a prescription with Medicare, I think you'll see the difference. You don't have insulin. Do you? No, you don't have insulin, do you?
No.
Oh. EpiPen?
No, but I think everyone should have.
You should have an EpiPen.
If you're going to drop the price, everyone should have an EpiPen around the house.
Yeah.
You get bit by a bee, you don't know if somebody's not allergic to bee stings. It's a good idea.
It's a very good idea. Absolutely.
Yeah. A bee sting could kill you.
Anyway, I thought it was fascinating to understand this, to learn about it, and see that these executive orders are signed in place. And I don't know, it should make a difference.
Oh, they're going to go after him. If you think the thing is, he must have looked around and said, "Look, I'm way behind in the polls."
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't mean anything. We know that for a fact, and people haven't even seen Joe Biden. I mean, it's like, putting a dog turd into office. I mean, the guy's got about the same amount of intelligence.
Yeah.
But it's like he knows that the media has been pounding him. He's not a leader. He's not this. He's not that. Well, okay. Well, let's go and do what they like to do with the right wingers and go after their advertisers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you guys feel that way? Okay, well, good.
Exactly.
See how you like it.
Yeah, I thought that was like, wow, okay.
So they're going to have to turn up the gas, but they can't. It's already at full steam.
And this really affects one specific group, because this is just a money game. It's the insurance companies. I think there are 3 huge PBMs, and it's all split up into small little companies. It's very hard to track, apparently. But it's the insurance companies. It's Wall Street. They just hedge risk. They don't do anything else. Just push paper around. Algos do the business of screwing you, and he's coming in to disrupt that. I'm quite pleased with that, and I think.
Well, you said there were 4 executive orders.
Oh, the fourth one, which he will be signing if someone doesn't comply. And quite honestly, I just lost track of time and couldn't quite figure out what the fourth one was. But he threatened. He's saying, I may not have to do that one if everyone plays along. So I'm not sure. It's some kind of huge poison pill. There's no actual text yet, although I did see the. So
you don't even know what it's about.
Well, yeah, I can tell you what it's about. I can tell you what it says.
What's it about?
Hold on a second. I'm going to tell you, because believe it or not, they have a very handy website where they tend to put this stuff up. So here's your 4 executive orders. The executive order lowering prices for payments by middlemen, life-saving, drug importation, and then where's the fourth one? The fourth one. Yeah, okay. It's not on there, so I don't know what the fourth one is. It was just a vague threat then. I thought he'd published it. So I only have
somebody
those 3.
knows what it's about.
Yeah, but I thought that was I love seeing the complete lack of coverage. And this is a big deal. So even if they're looking at it not from a Chinese perspective, just we hate Trump, it's certainly, we can't have this guy doing anything good. Nothing good for the American people.
This is an egregious malfeasance by the media.
Yes. Instead of that, all we hear about is this, as an example, on MSNBC.
He's setting precedents now, and I think Mika was exactly right this morning when she raised the proper concerns. And the Wyden quote, to me, crystallizes it. This is what would happen if you were an authoritarian president who was preparing to resist a loss in the election. You would be saying the things Donald Trump is saying, and you would be gradually rolling out federal police power into the states against the wishes of the mayors and governors in question. This is how it would happen. This is how the movie would play out. And anybody who's not looking at this with a state of alarm and concern and worried about, is this president going to employ formally martial law at some point, as Ron Wyden suggested yesterday, is that on the president's mind? Is there anybody, having watched Donald Trump for the last 3.5 years, who doesn't think that Donald Trump would try to employ martial law if he thought it was the only way he could stay in power?
Man, why is that so deja vu?
That's Heilman. He's got a new gig. He's on the Mika show.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to make a name for himself, even though I think he's screwing himself. But
yeah.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Oh, that's nothing. What you got?
Well, we go to Democracy Now! And we bring in the bearded one, Noam Chomsky.
Oh, boy. I guess they're pulling the emergency brake.
Yeah, they're bringing in Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
Let's go.
President Trump is desperate. His entire attention there's one issue on his mind, that's the election. He has to cover up for the fact that he's personally responsible for killing tens of thousands of Americans.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible to conceal that much longer. Just compare the United States with Europe or even Canada. It's becoming a pariah state to the point where Americans aren't even permitted to travel to Europe. Europe won't accept them. His chances of victory depend on his doing something dramatic. He was trying very hard to set up military confrontations. You mentioned martial law. It's moving towards martial law. He might even be able to try to cancel the elections. There's no telling what he would do. He's completely desperate. This is like the actions of some tin pot dictator in a neo-colony somewhere, small country that has a military coup every couple of years. There's no historical precedent for anything like this in a functioning democratic society.
This man should be ashamed of himself. Wow.
He's just finally coming out of his shell.
Well, he needs to take some Adderall or something, because that could have been a 15-second
he's
clip.
The worst. So let's play a little bit more. Play the second part of
more Noam.
If he could send black shirts out in the streets, he'd be happy to do that. Exactly how this will eventuate is very hard to say. The courts are unlikely to do anything. We may even get to a point where the military command has to decide which side they're on. The man is desperate. He's psychotic. He is in extreme danger of losing his position in the White House. He'll do anything he can to prevent it.
Wow, I can't believe that. He proved to us that he is not deranged because person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Noam Chomsky.
That's got to be my favorite thing I've seen.
Yeah, it's very funny. Chomsky, as he's saying he's willing to put the black shirts on the street, they're showing clips
of the actual Antifa black shirts.
Yeah, they show a bunch of normal cops, these Fed cops dressed in kind of camouflage, literally picking up black shirted guys, all covered from head to toe with black, off the streets. And it's just like the contrast of what he says and what your witness is just like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Now there's one more. There's an optional third clip if you're not sick of this guy.
No, I'll listen to more.
Now the third clip though is really a long question asked by that alternate woman that's on Democracy Now, who's the dour one, the dour Latinx type. And she's I've never seen her perk up, except one time there was a rock star on this show.
She got all giddy.
She got all smiling, and she's batting her eyes. It was pathetic, to be honest about it. But so she's asking this very long-winded question, which is actually the main part of the clip. And then he comes in and answers a little bit of it. But you have to listen to her discussion of his previous discussions. They have a Trump clip in there out of the blue, which kind of, it's just a very interesting, this is a very a different kind of clip, but it's worth listening to.
Well, Professor Chomsky, I mean, you've just echoed the concerns of Senator Ron Wyden that we may be headed, the U.S. may be headed towards the imposition of martial law. You've just called Trump a psychotic, previously having referred to him as a sociopath, and pointed to the differences the massive differences between Biden and Trump when we had you on earlier this year, saying about Biden that he's pretty empty. You can push him one way or another. And you've also said that this is the most crucial election in human history, literally. Now, in a Fox News interview...
Wait, let me hear what was so literal about that.
Election in human history.
Wait.
Pretty empty. You can push him one way or another. And you've also said that this is the most crucial election in human history, literally.
Now, literally, that's what he said, or it's literally the most crucial?
No, he said it, meaning that literally, this next election with Joe Biden running against Donald Trump, in all of human history, going back to the Pharaoh, this is the most important thing ever.
Well, we should pay attention to what he says then.
Now, in a Fox News interview just on Sunday, Trump refused to commit to accepting the outcome of the 2020 election.
This gag again.
I don't like to lose. I don't lose too often. I don't like to lose.
But are you gracious?
You don't know until you see. It depends. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see. Look, Hillary Clinton asked me the same thing.
Could you comment on...
Wait a minute. First of all, he said mail-in voting might rig the whole thing. I don't think he said it would rig it for the Democrats.
Now, I want to stop here and say something I've mentioned on the show before. There were two recent elections that were done to replace some congressional members, and the Republicans won both of them. And these were mail-in elections.
Yeah.
I've said, that's what you just said.
Yeah.
It's possible that Trump's gaslighting the process. No, we can't have, we can't have anything but mail-in elections, because he already knows that whatever he suggests, they do the opposite.
Yeah, he's figured it out, finally.
He's figured it out. So the mail-in election may assure his landslide victory.
The way he says it, it's not he didn't do his hands like, it's horrible, it's really bad, it's just, and recall that in 2004, I think it was, Florida was all jacked up because the Republicans want to do mail-in voting. So I'm just listening to the way he says it, and to me, it's like, he's got it figured out.
The outcome of the 2020 election.
I'm not a good loser. I don't like to lose. I don't lose too often. I don't like to lose.
But are you gracious?
You don't know until you see. It depends. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see. Look, Hillary Clinton asked me the same thing.
Could you comment on that and what your concerns are in the event? I mean, you've just said that, in fact, the elections somehow could be canceled.
No,
there are various maneuvers that theoretically they might undertake. One might be to try to throw the election to refuse to accept the vote, to make sure that the Republican governors don't authorize their own electors. This is routine and automatic, but technically they could refuse, could throw it into the House where there's enough Republicans in the House to essentially turn the election into the kind of farce that you find as I said, in butt dictatorship.
Oh, brother.
And now that there's not enough Republicans in the House, you idiot.
Senate, doofus. Oh, man, that is... how old is he now?
So I told you I was a topper. I can be
it's a top. Well, let's just look at how this is playing out. First of all, I believe that this is an attempt at a color revolution. Black Lives Matter. Black is a color. There are elements who are behind this. Certainly a lot of nonprofits, non-governmental organizations. I mean, even Google, Hey Google is pushing BLM. I'm getting pictures from people you just want to ask your Google thing to do, your Google device to do something, and already it's promoting Black Lives Matter. And I think it was, actually, I have this clip from Black Lives Matter UK. Shall we listen and see? Hey, just so you know, it's a global thing. And you'll see that the issues are all the same. They really have nothing to do with ADOS, American descendants of slavery. It's pretty much everything that you'd expect, even from a guy like Noam Chomsky.
Can't talk about black issues and LGBT issues and exclude them as if there's some...
I'm sorry, I should set this up. This is a British kid, noodle boy, on stage addressing a crowd. I think it's in London. And he's telling everybody what's up, what's going on, what we got to stand for, and what Black Lives Matter is happening, what we're doing.
Can't talk about black issues and LGBT issues and exclude them as if there's some individual issue. You need to be looking at this using intersectionality, which is a word that, is thrown around, but what does it really mean? It means recognizing that there is one common enemy, the white man.
Okay, so that at least is the same. There's one common enemy, ladies and gentlemen. It is the white man.
And the systems that they use are capitalism, patriarchy, and fascism.
Okay, so that is Trump, basically. The systems the white man uses is patriarchy, capitalism. And I wish these kids knew what the difference was between socialism, communism, Marxism, capitalism. They're not taught properly.
They were created...
They're not taught anything.
Well, they're taught something. They're taught to spout this bullshit.
Use of capitalism, patriarchy, and fascism. They were created and perpetuated by white men for white men in the interests of white men.
Whose life matters at this point? There's a target on our heads.
Now, obviously, fighting these issues and addressing them all requires different methods. The way that you approach and change racism is going to be different than how you look at homophobia. And we understand that. But you can't just be out fighting for your own issues. We need to address the situation in Yemen. The 20 million people, mostly children, are living in extreme poverty and hunger and malnutrition, which has only been worsened by the coronavirus crisis. We need to look at Palestine. Recently, I think it was like 3 days ago.
It's always in there. Palestine's always in there. And it has a little bit of
code.
It's showing his color.
We need to look at Palestine. Recently, I think it was like 3 days ago, every map, whether it's iPhone, Android, Google, have removed Palestine from the maps. So Palestine is still there, okay? Palestine is not gone. As much as Israel wants to take over everything, as much as America is funding them, and that's his issue.
Anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic.
We need to address the fact that, all of these groups of people, the issues they face, it all comes from the same people, white men. So we need to get rid of them. How we do that? Eat them, Kill the rich.
So there it is.
Kill the root.
No, kill the rich. That's the solution. It's all white men who are doing this, especially in the American cities run by black and brown Democrats. So that's all white people. I'm sure the white people are controlling them.
Sure.
Yeah. It's abundantly clear to me. Was it you? Did you, when we were looking at this, and we already did Patrice Cullors as co-founder of Black Lives Matter. We've gone through her Marxist roots. We don't need to talk about that. But I found another couple of money trails that are interesting in regard to Black Lives Matter because there are two other co-founders. Was it the Freedom Road Socialist Organization? Is that the one you thought that this was all stemming from? Have you heard of this?
No, I always think World's Workers' Party.
Well, I'm sure it's related. The Freedom Road Socialist Organization, they they have all the strategies. They have on their website, which is frso.org.
Oh, I always think it also the radical abolitionist movement.
I think that's
the RAM.
I think that's all part of it. The difference is these guys have the money. And how interesting is it that Alicia Garza was executive director or board member of 5 different Freedom Road fiscal sponsorships. Remember, that's how this works. You get the foundation or the nonprofit. It reports a 990 form. It takes the money in for, as an example, the Black Lives Matter Foundation, not the fund, the foundation. And they will give them money. We don't know how much they're giving them. We don't know really how much is coming in specifically for Black Lives Matter, and that's this fiscal sponsorship. So Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders, this I think is the one who's the most interesting, which of course is why she's not in the picture. She was board chair of the Right of the City Alliance, School of Unity and Liberation, that's SOUL. The important one is People Organized to Win Employment Rights. That is POWER. And POWER, P-O-W-E-R, is a group that included Van Jones, a bunch of typical people you'd expect to be hanging around leftist issues and money. The Right to Alliance, City Alliance, which she was the board member or executive chair of, $6.5 million in the past couple of years. And this money comes from the Ford Foundation, $1.9 million. George Soros, Open Society Foundation, $1.3 million. The Kellogg Foundation, $250,000. And interestingly, the Ben & Jerry's Foundation is everywhere. Now, it's only $30,000, but that's just for that one. As the executive director of POWER, P-O-W-R, which Van Jones was a part of and still is a part of, that group received $1.3 million from the Ford Foundation as well, $600,000 from Open Society from Soros, $50,000 from Ben & Jerry. At the SOUL organization, which is underneath this big one, Garza claims to have trained 712 organizers. Well, we know what those are from the last show. These are the people who go out and break stuff. $210,000 from the Rockefeller Foundation, $255,000 from the Heinz Foundation. Hey, John Kerry. And then we go to the multiracial organization that works with leaders and organizers to transform culture and policy to catalyze social change, FRSO, $4 million in 2014. So there's all this money flowing into this. And you look at these kids on the street, they got pretty nice gear on. Tactical helmets, tactical jackets, tactical vests, tactical pants, boots. They got all kinds of stuff. And this is all before we ever find out, if we do, how much money Apple, Disney, Nike, all these corporations are sending to these groups that are, all I can see is training and sponsoring this mayhem everywhere now. In Austin, yesterday, someone got shot and killed during a protest.
Who was shot and killed, and who are they shot and killed by?
I shall tell you. So there was a protest, Black Lives Matter protest, and they were marching through the street. And one of the protesters had a AR-15, or might have been, I think it was AK-47 semi. And he's walking along with the protesters, which is, in Austin, in Texas in general, you can do that, as long as you're handling it properly. A long gun, as we call it, that's allowed. There's nothing against that. And then at an intersection, the protest crowd, this is the way I've seen it from the video I've seen, the protest crowd blocks in a car. And the car is like honking, like, hey, it's a scary thing when you're blocked in by all these people, in especially the Black Lives Matter protest. And so they wants to get out. And so the people start surrounding this car. The guy with the AK-47 walks up to the driver's window, brandishing the weapon, and the driver shot and killed him. Hello, it's Texas, you idiot.
Yes, I think the driver should have shot and killed him.
He did. And so now it's raining like crazy here, so I'm sure there'll be no protests at all. But the whole city is kind of waiting, what's going to happen? Will there be outrage? I think all the kids are going to stay home. They've done it. They're like, oh, okay, I don't want to be a part of that. And people crazy here. I agree with you. That's why we have guns. And it's so stupid. The first thing in Texas is you don't go messing around brandishing your weapon in front of somebody because they probably have a gun too. Anyway, so the story's being distorted, and I'm sure it'll be a crazy white supremacist who killed someone. Whatever. That's how it always goes.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully they just let him go.
It's a little chance of that.
Well, unfortunately, in normal circumstances, if somebody comes up to you with brandishing a gun like that, threatening you, and you shot him, you wouldn't be even brought up on charges.
No. So it's just anyway. I think that's. I don't have much else on Black Lives. Well, we got Noodle Gun. We can do that later.
Yeah, and I have two things we can do.
Okay.
I think the Maxwell story. Maybe I should do those 3 clips.
You want to do that now? Okay.
Yeah, but before we do that, I do have an entremont because I think a lot of this is going on has a lot to do with this clip.
Mm-hmm.
This is clips. The clip is Elementary. This is from the show that ended this year, the Elementary, which I think went in its 6th or 7th season. It ended, and this was near the end of it. This is you can get to hear some of the lousy acting, but it did have an element in it that we enjoy hearing a lot. And this is from the season ending. When the season, 3rd from the end show of the entire series.
To look into this, I can take it to someone I know sees things my way. Problem solved. Mr. Conrad doesn't hurt anyone, and I know that you and I will never be friends. But I think you'll say yes. It's too good an opportunity to prove me wrong. Show me the faults in my methods.
What makes you so sure this guy is so dangerous?
Mr. Conrad has a podcast.
Dangerous, I tell you. Okay, that's funny. I like that. Wait, I have one of my own. This is a message I received from a very special friend of ours.
You're listening to No Agenda with Adam Curry and John Dvorak. Now sit back, relax, and get informed.
There you go. God himself dropping by, saying hi to us.
I wonder who did that one.
Well, I know who did it. Morgan Freeman.
So let's go to, thank you, Morgan. Let's go to, so this will get us out of the way. This is all part of one report that was done on ABC.
Yep.
And I think it brings us right up to speed with what's going on with the Maxwell story. Let's go.
To that major ruling in the Ghislaine Maxwell case, a judge ordering the release of what could be thousands of pages of documents from a civil case against her. And those could include names of high-profile people who socialized with Jeffrey Epstein. Janae Norman joins us now with more on this. Good morning, Janae.
Hey, Cecilia. Good morning. That civil case was settled back in 2017, but a judge ruling just yesterday that the public is legally entitled to access dozens of previously sealed records from the case. Some of those documents are said to contain the names of hundreds of people who spent time socializing, traveling, or working with Jeffrey Epstein over the course of more than a decade. This morning, as Ghislaine Maxwell wakes up behind bars in a Brooklyn detention center, associates of Jeffrey Epstein may be on edge following a bombshell court ruling. A judge deciding Thursday that dozens of documents at the center of a 2015 case involving Maxwell and Virginia Roberts Giuffre should be unsealed, including transcripts from at least one of Maxwell's depositions in the case, which her attorney says contains, quote, extremely personal and confidential material. Giuffre alleges she was abused as a teenager by Maxwell and Epstein and directed to sleep with Prince Andrew, allegations he denies. Giuffre telling BBC Panorama,
I knew I had to keep him happy because that's what Jeffrey and Ghislaine would expect from me.
The sealed records are said to contain names of hundreds of associates of Epstein over the span of more than 10 years. Some of Epstein's famous associates include former President Bill Clinton, British Royal Prince Andrew, and President Donald Trump, who had an eyebrow-raising response when asked about Ghislaine Maxwell this week.
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
This coming on the heels of another major revelation.
Why does he do that? What the hell is that about?
I don't know why he does that.
I wish her well. I mean, is that... I don't know. Maybe he just wishes her well, but dude, that's creepy. And I love how they then put Trump in, they connect him.
Oh, yeah, they got to throw Trump in, and we know that Trump was disassociated from the group.
Yeah, but doesn't matter.
But, okay.
Now,
so let's go to clip 2.
I was just going to say, it appears to me the only person that definitely is screwed in this deal is Prince Andrew. I mean, that's the guy, right?
No, Anderson Cooper. You got to put him in there.
How about this? I wish her well means I hope she makes it to the trial. Maybe that's what he means. And I wish her well. Don't put anything around your neck.
This coming on the heels of
I don't know. Yeah, that could be. But Prince Andrew is, he's protected by the crown. Nothing's going to happen to him. He's just going to be out of the limelight.
But, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, lots of stuff.
It's nothing. Zip, zero.
Okay. All right.
This coming on the heels of another major revelation. According to federal prosecutors, Ghislaine Maxwell is married, but she's declined to provide the court with the identity of her spouse. Maxwell is currently held on charges related to facilitating Epstein's sex crimes.
Maxwell played a critical role in helping Epstein to identify, befriend, and groom minor victims for abuse. In some cases, Maxwell participated in the abuse herself.
And more than a year after convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in a Manhattan jail, his mansions in both Palm Beach and New York City hitting the market for a combined $110 million. The real estate postings giving a new look inside the expansive properties, but leaving out one detail, that Epstein was the previous owner. And Maxwell's lawyers plan to file an emergency appeal to keep those documents from being unsealed. If they fail, we could see them come out as early as next week. Maxwell has pleaded not guilty to all the criminal charges against her. Cecilia.
Hey, Janae, thanks so much. Let's bring in Dan Abrams now. Dan, good morning to you. So let's break this down. We're talking about unsealed documents. What do you think might be in them? And anybody who might be mentioned in them, how nervous should they be?
Well, look, the people who are mentioned in the documents ought to be nervous. But not because they're going to be released next week. What the court is basically doing here is saying, yes, I am ruling that this is going to be released if there is no appellate decision that overrules me. But any of the names in there are going to be informed that this is going to be made public, and they'll have an opportunity to challenge that.
Oh, brother, then nothing's going to come out.
Yeah, nobody's mentioned this in all these reports.
Nothing's coming out. The only one
who get to all bitch and moan.
The only
in other words, before they're in other words, if you're on the say you're one of the John Does, they contact you way in advance and say you're one of the John Does.
Do you want to release this? Yeah. Do you want to stop it? Of course.
Yeah.
Right away. Oh my goodness. The only one that wants it really public is Dershowitz. He wants that out there because he knows what's in it. And I guess it exonerates him. He's pushing. That's why he's showing up everywhere. He wants that out. But it'll never happen in this case. That's disappointing.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. There's an optional third clip, which is kind of boring, but it brings out a couple more details if you want to play it.
So at least for now, anyone who's in there, and there are over 100 names that are referred to as John Does, will get an opportunity to make an argument about why their names shouldn't be made public. So far, there have only been 2 people notified. Apparently, neither of them have objected, so their names would probably be released.
They should just do everyone Doe. It should just be Alan Doe. It should be Prince Doe.
Donald Doe.
Donald Doe.
Bill Doe.
Anderson Doe.
Anderson Doe
would be a good one.
Anderson Doe is great.
Most concerned here is Ghislaine Maxwell herself. This is going to be numerous depositions that she did in the context of this civil case, and it'll involve some very personal stuff about her, including about her sex life. Woo! You may even see in there elements of who she may have had sex with, but without naming that person, which would still stay redacted until the person had an opportunity to respond.
And her team said that they didn't want this release to happen because it would make her her ability to get a fair trial. It would infringe on that. Is that true?
Yeah, well, look, that's always an argument that defense attorneys make, that any information that would be harmful to my client makes it really hard for me to get a fair trial. It's also not typically a winning argument. There are always ways when you're looking for jurors to find people who haven't been following cases like this that closely, particularly when you're talking about, the details of what was released and what it said. People have a lot of other things to do in their lives. And in case after case I've seen in jury selection, they're able to find people who have not followed these cases so closely. And most importantly, the legal standard is that they haven't developed an opinion about guilt or innocence.
Well, we shall see. It sounds like a big nothing burger once again. And I said that on purpose.
Now, the one thing he did say that you may have or may have not have caught, which is that 2 people have already said it's okay by them if they release all their stuff about them.
Right. Alan Doe.
So who are those 2? It's got to be Dershowitz.
Alan Doe.
And who's the other one, I wonder?
Pooper Doe.
No, Pooper's freaked. It's not him.
I don't know. Well, we can't. Well, we'll find out something somewhere. But I agree.
Well, it's going to be in the. Yeah, this is going to roll out slowly. This is a blip, and it's going to be.
Sadly, I agree with you. Now, of course, people are dying, which is always interesting. We didn't. I don't know if we talked about it, but late last year, a banker from Deutsche Bank who had brokered all the Epstein loans killed himself.
Yeah, sure.
Hung himself, actually. And we didn't talk about it, but then there's this killing of a judge, and the judge
we talked about it. This judge.
Yeah. Well, let me see. I have a clip here. I don't think we played this. Let me see.
This morning, new details about the attorney and self-described anti-feminist accused of killing a federal judge's son and wounding her husband. Investigators say Roy Den Hollander dressed in a FedEx uniform Sunday and opened fire on Judge Esther Salas's New Jersey home when her son and husband answered the door. According to the New York Times, federal authorities are also investigating whether Den Hollander is connected to a murder in San Bernardino, California earlier this month when men's rights attorney Mark Angelucci was shot at his front door by a gunman also wearing a FedEx uniform. In a 2015 case before Judge Salas, Den Hollander represented a woman who wanted to register for the military draft. He was replaced as her lawyer last June before the case was fully resolved. It's unclear why, but it appears Den Hollander held a grudge against Judge Salas, writing in a self-published book that she is, quote, a lazy and incompetent Latina judge appointed by Obama. Den Hollander is also known for suing nightclubs over their ladies' night discounts. Here's what he told ABC News in 2007.
I'm now trying to turn this tables of equality on the feminazis who have changed this country.
This is very odd, this guy. And he killed himself with multiple shots. It's an old classic. It's like 2 to the head, gun in the left hand. I don't know how they do it. It's fantastic. So, could be meaningless. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, yeah, it's connected somehow. This guy is weird, though. And apparently he'd asked the judge out on a date, and she had turned him down. And I even saw a video on Colbert, the old Colbert show, where he was making fun of him. Some crazy guy.
Huh.
Yeah. He's gotten around. He's been on TV. He's been interviewed. And then this happens. And what's the deal with the FedEx and the dress up? And something, either the guy is completely whacked or who knows.
Sounds like an MK Ultra gone astray.
Now you're talking. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in Chomsky is baked, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all the boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, dames out there, knights and the dames and the knights and the dames.
Yes, in the morning to our trolls in the troll room, noagendastream.com. Pretty helpful, actually, today. We've had some technical issues, and they've been very entertaining. Not helpful, but entertaining. Looks like it'll be at 1,649 trolls on deck. noagendastream.com is where you can listen live when we do the show live, but it rolls 24/7. And you can hop into the chat room, which is where the trolls live, and listen to the stream at the same time. It's lively. There's always something going on. There's always hundreds of people in there, and quite a number more, as you can tell today. noagendastream.com. While you're there, consider asking for an invite to noagendasocial.com. Unlike Twitter, which is dangerous to your health, it doesn't have the algos. The reply function works kind of the way it should. And somehow you just feel better. Certainly, if you're in federated mode, you can communicate across servers. It's free for all. It's fun for all. And it's where the smartest people I know hang out, including you, sir. That is noagendasocial.com. Then, a big thank you for the artwork for episode, let's see, we had 1262. That was Use Your Words. And this was the bowling shoes, bowling ball, no agenda from Darren O'Neill. Of course, we have a crack bowler who, how old was that? Was the kid 11? 10 or 11 who bowled the 289?
Yeah, 11. He's an 11 year because he's going to be 12.
Unbelievable. Now, we did look at other stuff. I don't know. I can't really remember exactly how we came up with this. That's Darren O'Neill's fantastic job, as always, Darren.
Well, it wasn't really, we didn't get a lot of stuff that it was a lot of, let's go look at it. We had a lot of stuff that was
racist.
Well, besides that, the one you like was the two masks.
Yeah, it was cute. I thought it was nice.
Kind of cute. Well, one of the things I noticed that O'Reilly had a nice piece, but it was just, I don't know, it wasn't. He's resubmitted it.
Yeah, he's doing it with a red background.
Yeah, I guess that's because of Nick the Rat.
Yeah. Everyone wants to do red backgrounds now because that gets your art picked. Well, I think that they're going to find out that that's absolutely not true.
Yeah, because we're never going to pick anything with a red background ever again. No, we just pick the art from the quality that if it makes us laugh and all the rest.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a red background. It's kind of cool.
And honestly, the bowling ball was nice. You're also a bowler, so I think that's good.
Yeah, and I like the 33 on the shoes. I think that was what sold me.
Thank you very much, Darren O'Neill. Thanks to all of our artists. I mean, we're making light of it, but we understand exactly how much work goes into into making this art, doing it in quick time frame, because the minute we end the show with recording, that's when the art is already up. We pick it within 10 or 15 minutes. So thank you all for providing some massive value to the show. It makes a huge difference, mainly because new art just grabs everybody's attention. We're one of the few shows, if not the one of really one or two shows that does this consistently. And it's a tremendous value. So thank you very much, Darren. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Also, a lot of his artwork flows through to NoAgendaShop.com, where the guys over there are doing all kinds of crazy stuff with No Agenda Art, and they're paying the artists for doing it and making everybody happy. And we'd like to thank the people who showed up to support the show financially. There's no other way we can do this. I think if you've been listening for a bit, or even just this is your first show, there's obviously no commercial or corporate interest that would make any sense having them anywhere near this program, and which is why I've been able to do it for 1,263 episodes. Here are our executive producers.
Yes, we start off with Princess J.J. Lou in Lakewood, Colorado, $333.33. And Princess Lou writes, ITM gentlemen, please refer to me as Princess J.J. Lou, as I wish to remain anonymous. I'm a crossover from JRE. That you have organized. Thank you for providing an essential service. I love the show. Jobs and goat karma, please.
Got it.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Oh, wait.
News bomb!
Always ready for the Grand Dukes.
Grand Duke Sir Nussbaum in Virginia Beach, 3/14/15. Day 14 of working 14 plus hours a day and Prineville, Oregon. Oh, he's up in Oregon. Go meet up with the Melon Son. Today I sleep in and will enjoy the show with food and alcohol delivered to me. Anyone interested will be at the Son of Beers Monday and Tuesday, 6 to close. No agenda shirt. Mismatch Converse. Okay, that's all it says.
I'm not sure exactly what that means, but okay. We always love the latest updates from the Grand Duke. And so where is he? Where is he saying now? He's in Prineville. What do you think he's doing there?
I have no idea.
I wonder what's going on. Prineville, Oregon? Never.
Maybe he's playing guitar in the bar.
Maybe he's preparing for the martial law.
Yeah, maybe he's setting it up. Circus Media is next in Missoula, Montana, 23456. At First Associate Executive Producers. Jingles, Don't Eat Me, Joe Biden, Bo Jiden, Two to the Head, Little Girl Yay, Karma for All, ITM, Crackpot, and Buzzkill. Please credit my donation to the local 406 Meetup group. Oh, this was from the Meetup.
Beautiful.
I want to thank the Meetup for that, and we'll play some jingles for you.
Yes. And I am just looking for the Two to the Head. And wanted Little Girl Yay? Was that what he wanted?
Yeah, Little Girl Yay.
Little Girl Yay. Okay, I think we have these. And Karma to accompany that?
Yep, for all.
Don't eat me, Bo Jiden. You're scary. So scary. Yay!
You've got Karma.
Four-part jingles tells the story. Baron Sir Economic Hitman 21757. Greetings from Baron Sir Economic Hitman. Jingle request Mort Klein Tourette's Giggle. What's that?
I have it, believe it or not. I have it.
And Jobs Karma. Trump version, I don't think it's cursed just because one guy said so.
Okay.
This is the... Okay, well, I don't know which... Okay.
Well,
since I forgot... I don't know which... It's up to you. Since I forgot to ask when granted Baron status, I wanted to claim my protectorate today as Sir Economic Hitman, Baron of Congressional Dish. A few months ago, I asked you to put a link in the show notes to promote the beta release of my iPhone app, Mancala World. Now Mancala Fantasy, Mancala, online, Mancala Fantasy Online, a turn-based strategy game dating back to ancient civilizations. The game has had local two-player mode, VS computer, and online play. Well, I finally published the app to the App Store last month. I'm trying to get hired as an iOS developer, so every person who downloads my app is helping me find a job. Would you please post this link in the show notes? Can you do that? It would mean the world to me. And it's
I think we can do that.
Apple.com.
Okay, yeah, we'll put that right next to his. In fact, we'll make your credit hot. Your credit will be hot. When you click on your name in the credits, it'll be hot.
Nobody ever does that.
I'm doing it. It'll be hot. Where else does he want?
Nobody ever clicks on anything.
Well, when that's the only one that's a link, and it's the top of the page. Wow, I think it's pretty good placement.
Yeah, it is good placement. Okay. Now we have the Johnsons from Wisconsin.
Hold on, I've got to do his clips.
Thank you, Chairman Nadler, Ranking Member Collins, members of the committee. First of all, I must say I have Tourette syndrome. Sometimes I have tics and make sounds I can't control. So please forgive me.
Now I remember. Remember that guy? He was great.
Yeah. You're the only one that can actually laugh at that.
Yeah, because he's my colleague, so that's why I get to laugh at that.
Please forgive me.
Jobs.
Let's vote for jobs.
You've got Karma.
Okay, the Johnsons. This is the Johnsons from Wisconsin. 202. And send in the handwritten note. Handwritten. And somebody, I'm guessing it would be the Phil, as opposed to, and he's also, Phil writes the note. And I would say by the looks of this handwriting, which is actually printing, that he's an architect.
Oh.
It's got that certain look that you see in architectural drawings. It's like they all learned to write this way. I'm making this donation from my son, for my son, Philip, who hit me in the mouth a while back. it has been interesting to see how much this has changed our family dinners with our kids aged 37 and 39. This is like becoming emotionally debt-free. I got it. We do not always agree, but we talk about things that we never did before. He hit me, the whole family, in the mouth. The whole family successed into digging into each other's deconstructions.
Sounds like a family I know out in California somewhere.
Not quite. Because they all listen to the show. These people, the Johnsons.
Oh, right.
Not the case
our individual families don't actually listen.
No.
Well, the keeper
Rarely.
The keeper listens whenever
my daughter
she can.
was dog walking all the time. She'd listen when she's walking. My daughter is partially finding more detail on pretty much any. Oh, now she's become a search addict. My game up our bliss life in the mouth, grandma maybe. So she is now part of the party. Yay!
All right,
it's like
Grandma.
having a meeting. That's almost impossible.
What is this written in block letters, or is this written?
It's block letters, but like forever.
Has it been?
For example, the R looks like an N that's kind of laid on its side.
Is it cut from a newspaper? Little letters.
We will add this to our son's accounting, as he has been a subscriber for a long while now, but I wanted to have you add him to your list of associate executive. Okay, this has to be switched to him.
Oh, okay.
Please give a got your pen out. Sorry, birthday call out I missed.
Yeah.
His birthday, the son, July 23rd.
And what's his name?
Well, I'm now have to go back and figure out what his name is. Son, Philip.
Philip. What's his last name?
Philip Johnson.
Johnson. Okay. And do we know how old he was?
Doesn't say.
Okay.
But he's probably in his 30s. Now, he does have jingles, and I forgot that. I've been remiss because I've been so mind-boggled by this. He needs 3 jingles. He needs "We Are All Gonna Die" from Obama. That's true. That's true. And "Shut Up, Slave." Pretty easy.
Okay. Was there anything else on his note?
No, it doesn't mention karma, so we're giving the son the money, or the money,
all right,
the credit,
and the karma.
We give him a karma. The whole family needs one.
That's true. Shut up, slave.
You've got
goat karma. There you go. Not messing around. Straight to the goat.
It's not too bad. And there we have our Duke Dave Fugazotto, Duke of America's Heartland and Arabian Peninsula in Gladstone, Missouri, was actually in Saudi Arabia, we think, at $200.33. Had no story to tell, no note, just karma.
You got it. We're happy to give you some karma. I'll throw in some extra goat.
You've got karma.
Post goat. Nice.
Dustin Donham in Taos, Texas, or Tao. I think it's Tao. T-O-W. $200.33. Hey, John and Adam, I donated back in 2011 with the amount of $18.64, but never got a shout out.
Oh.
Apparently $50 is a cutoff. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After 9 years of listening on and off, I'm requested to be de-douched and a job of karma for all listening who are suffering during this crisis. Best to you guys and the No Agenda family.
You've been de-douched.
All right, man. Good to have you here.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Hey, the Viscount Hereditarian is back.
Oh, nice.
Haven't heard from him for a while. Trabuco Canyon, California. Thanks for the fantastic deconstruction of the media. I'm constantly hitting people in the mouth. It only saves our amygdala. If it only saves our amygdala, it's worth it all. No jingles, no karma. Sir Hereditarian.
Right.
And in fact, last but not least is Dame Judy Schwartz, the Baroness of Kendall County in Bernie, Texas. $200. John's response to the stay safe with his classic "Go fuck yourself" deserves a donation.
Well done, sir.
It made us money.
Well done. It was the talk of the town, I'll tell you. Talk of the town.
Love you, John. Thanks for keeping me giggling out loud. Baroness of Kendall County, Bernie, Texas. I want to thank all these folks for contributing to the show 1263 and being the executive and associate executive producers for said show.
Yes, it is highly appreciated. The model that has been keeping us going for 13 years and counting. It's a roller coaster. It goes up and down, but somehow people are always there to pull us through, and we really appreciate it. The executive producers and associate executive producers can use these titles anywhere they are recognized and valued, which is pretty much anywhere in show business or the entertainment business in general. And if anyone has any questions, you go ahead and send them to us. We'll vouch for you. And thank you for supporting and producing the best podcast in the universe, 1263. And please consider supporting us for the next show, which will be on Thursday, by going to
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think we brought you pretty much up to date on everything the media is obfuscating.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Alrighty then. What you got? We were gonna let's see.
I got a couple of things, but we should do our China thing.
Yeah. Let's do
this. Stay on China. I also have a substance abuse special, a 4-part special. We'll do it later.
A substance abuse special. Oh my!
And now Pompeo came out with the 4th speech.
Yes.
Of the group.
Yes.
And he talked about it. Now this was interesting. You would have loved it because it was down at the Nixon Library outside.
Wait. How was the weather? Let me ask that first.
It was windy.
Oh, my goodness. Did we have any form of microphone protection going on for this wind?
Do you think there'd be a dead kitten on there or something like that?
I think so.
That's the particularly good one with the wind.
Yeah.
But no. It's just two bare mics sitting there, and he's yakking away, and the wind's blowing every so often and screwing him up, and you can barely hear him. And nobody covered it. I noticed that I was watching the Amy Goodman Democracy Now! Thing, and she showed a picture of him talking, but he never played even a clip because it was so important for Amy to play the entire grouse section with the AOC on the floor of the Congress moaning and groaning about being called a bitch on the steps of...
I think it was an effing bitch. It went a little further than that.
An effing bitch.
Yeah.
So and nobody played any of this stuff, so this is all new now. It's just beyond me, but nobody seems to be paying attention to this or the executive orders. I mean, the news media is really screwing the public. So I do have the Pompeo speech. I want to play it. I don't know to play the whole thing. It went on for 20 minutes, but I've got the first 2 minutes of it that I think pretty much summarize what he's one of those guys who's going to tell you what he's going to tell you, then he's going to tell you, and he's going to tell you what he told you.
And then he's
going to tell us what he's going to tell us, and so we know the whole thing.
One area in particular that I saw, which was cited in Axios.
Oops, sorry. That is not Pompeo.
Ambassador Bryant spoke about ideology. FBI Director Wray talked about espionage. Attorney General Barr spoke about economics. And now my goal today is to put it all together for the American people and detail what the China threat means for our economy, for our liberty, and indeed for the future of free democracies around the world. Next year marks half a century since Dr. Kissinger's secret mission to China, and the 50th anniversary of President Nixon's trip isn't too far away in 2022. The world was much different then. We imagined engagement with China would produce a future with bright promise of comedy and cooperation. But today we're all still wearing masks and watching the pandemic's body count rise because the CCP failed in its promises to the world.
Hold on a second. What body count rise? Whose side is he on? That's bull crap. You can say, well, I guess he's just trying to make China look asshole, but they're bullshit.
But today we're all still wearing masks and watching the pandemic's body count rise because the CCP failed in its promises to the world. We're reading every morning new headlines of repression in Hong Kong and in Xinjiang. We're seeing staggering statistics of Chinese trade abuses that cost American jobs and strike enormous blows to the economies all across America, including here in Southern California. And we're watching a Chinese military that grows stronger and stronger and indeed more menacing. I'll echo the questions ringing in the hearts and minds of Americans from here in California to my home state of Kansas and beyond. What do the American people have to show now, 50 years on, from engagement with China? Did the theories of our leaders that proposed Chinese evolution towards freedom and democracy prove to be true? Is this China's definition of a win-win situation? And indeed, centrally, from Secretary of State's perspective, is America safer? Do we have a greater likelihood of peace for ourselves and peace for the generations which will follow us? Look, we have to admit a hard truth. We must admit a hard truth that should guide us in the years and decades to come. That if we want to have a free 21st century and not the Chinese century of which Xi Jinping dreams, the old paradigm of blind engagement with China simply won't get it done. We must not continue it, and we must not return to it.
Yeah, the wind is a little distracting.
It's worse. It's worse later.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was the best of the whole thing.
But what did he really say other than Chinaman bad?
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm going to read one of our producers sent a copy of the China, that thing that's the insert in the New York Times, the China Post. Or
China Daily or whatever it is.
China Daily.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of funny because obviously they're not native speakers. Nobody writes like this. He says, this is a paragraph I'm going to read. This claim of amicableness came despite the U.S.'s leading Flibbertigibbet on everything Chinese, saying that his country hopes like-minded nations can build a coalition against China. So a Flibbertigibbet.
What is that?
Is what they call Pompeo.
A Flibbertigibbet?
Yeah, and because this show is largely educational.
Yeah, can you give me a spelling first?
Better than that. It used to be, it was the word of the day sometime back on the Merriam-Webster site, and I have a clip.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not titled
Word of the day.
Okay, I was going to say, I was looking for Flibbertigibbet.
It's Merriam-Webster's Word of the Day for December 17th. Today's word is Flibbertigibbet, spelled Flibbertigibbet. Flibbertigibbet is a noun that means a silly, flighty person. Here's the word used in a sentence from the Arizona Republic by Carrie Lengel. As played by a breathless Vinnie Chavez, the young prince is a petulant Flibbertigibbet, obsessed with visual glamour, which gets in the way of his search for a suitable princess to marry. The word Flibbertigibbet is one of many incarnations of the Middle English word Flibbertigibbet, meaning gossip or chatterer. It's a word of onomatopoeic origin, created from sounds that were intended to represent meaningless chatter. Shakespeare apparently saw a devilish aspect to a gossipy chatterer. He used Flibbertigibbet in King Lear as the name of a devil. This use never caught on, but the devilish connotation of the word reappeared over 200 years later when Sir Walter Scott used Flibbertigibbet as the nickname of an impish urchin in the novel Kenilworth. The impish meaning derived from Scott's character was short-lived and was laid to rest by the 19th century's end, leaving us only with the silly, flighty person meaning. With your word of the day, I'm Peter Sokolowski.
That is a fantastic word of the day. And if I were Representative Yoho, I would go straight to Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and say, Sandy, listen up. You misheard me. I didn't call you an effing bitch. I called you a Flibbertigibbet. If not, that's what you are now. It's a new word, Flibbertigibbet.
I think that actually does describe her.
Yes, to some degree it does. That's a good word.
No, it does.
Yeah.
So he goes on and he says the same stuff that everybody else said, kind of complaining, moaning, and groaning. But curiously, at the Center for Strategic International Studies, CSIS,
yes,
Romney was on there, being the blowhard that he is, pretty much saying the same thing, but kind of condemning Trump. I don't know how he manages to do this.
Now, what is this organization, this CSIS?
It's run, I don't know, but it's one of those think tanks that is probably a front for something.
Yeah.
I didn't look into it to any extreme. You might want to. If it shows up again, we probably will. It has Bob Schaefer running a video operation. He wasn't available for this one.
Yeah.
And he runs a video operation. There's a bunch of clips on this place.
Well, Thomas J. Pritzker is the chairman of the board. I think enough said.
Yeah, well, definitely. So let's listen to a couple of Romney things, because this guy seems to be on board with Trump, but he's not really. I have the one extra clip I sent called Romney 1.
Yes, got it.
That's the one.
Before we came on air, right, you called China the issue of our era. And you also said we're all fast asleep at the wheel, basically, about this. What did you mean by that?
Well, I do believe that, China represents an enormous threat to liberal democracy generally, to the economic vitality of the world, to freedoms not only for its own people but for people of the world. China has a very different model that they're operating from. They've expressed their ambition to dominate the world, to become the geopolitical leader of the world, replacing the United States and the West, to become the military power of the world, and also the economic power of the world. And they believe that that's their rightful place. They had that kind of hegemony once upon a time, a long, long, long time ago. And they believe that that was taken away from them by colonial powers, and they intend to reassert their global leadership. And were they able to do so, I think we would find ourselves being impoverished relatively. We would find ourselves in an authoritarian type state, being monitored by government officials. We would not have the freedoms which we have long enjoyed, and the American experiment would have come to an end.
It's a big drinking club, this place, the CSIS. Everyone's in it, including Kissinger.
Well, Romney, I don't think he's in it. He might be, but they just interview all these different people, so I'm sure there's some good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Not at the Institute itself, but in these interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to clip 2. It's short.
And this isn't something we would hide from China, but it's saying, for instance, you cannot continue to massively subsidize industries selling products massively below their cost, such that you drive Western businesses out of business, laying people off, weakening us economically, and hollowing out our economic capabilities. And that is just something that has to happen. And I think you make a good point. What we've seen China doing, both in the South China Sea, in Hong Kong, with the Uyghurs, with their social scoring, where by virtue of cameras on every corner and facial recognition technology, repressing individuals who want to express their independent point of view. All of these things are waking up, I think, other nations, and this all presents an opportunity for the leadership of America to stand up and coalesce international effort.
You know, what really bothers me when people bring up the Uyghurs, that drone footage, that's bothersome. Where did it come from? It just shows up and there's no explanation as to, it's 2 years old.
I disregard the drone footage. I think I've seen it once. I didn't think much about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. Oh, that's what really made the story catch legs, as far as I'm concerned, is the drone footage. Oh, look at that.
It surprised me.
Right.
I thought that what Uyghur story should have caught legs before if the media was doing its job, but they weren't because China runs them. So what are you going to do?
Nothing.
And by the way, we're not the only country that kind of gets hoodwinked and of all things. And I think clip 3 is actually kind of an eye opener.
Yeah, and speaking of the Uyghur population, the BBC just showed drone footage on July 19th, as you know, of blindfolded Uyghur Muslims. It seemed to be like moving them onto trains, and there's some sense that there's a public backlash both in the UK and Australia about that. Do you have any sense of that?
Yeah, I find it astonishing that China, by virtue of their repression of free speech and the media, is able to keep the story of what they're doing in their own nation as quiet as it is. And perhaps some countries are used to the money they're getting from China for investment, and as a result, they're not willing to say anything. I mean, how do you take a nation like Iran, an Islamic nation, that doesn't speak out about the repression of Muslims in China, the Uyghurs? But virtual silence. How can that be? And then you understand that there's a proposal to provide some $500 billion in projects in Iran by China. I mean, look at us here in this country. We're not willing to spend that kind of money on our own infrastructure. China's willing to spend it on infrastructure in Iran. So, not surprisingly, Iran gets very quiet.
Well, isn't he the Iran shill? Isn't that what Romney does? Doesn't he have like his daughter's married to someone over there or some crazy stuff like that?
From the sounds of it, he's not anymore.
Yeah, that's very odd. I'm not sure why he's doing that.
Oh well, it was a very good point, though. I have to say, it's and hilarious. You interested in any more of this? He goes on with some more material. You can stop.
I have some.
You can stop me.
I have some China stuff.
Okay, well, let's play clip 4. He outlines a procedure. I think that's kind of interesting.
I love how you say, do you want to go on? You want to think more? I said, no, I got some China stuff. Okay, let's play clip 4. Good.
So let's
hold on a second. I thought you said you liked the China stuff. I didn't know you have China stuff.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I just thought you were giving up on your clips, and so I said, okay, I got some China stuff.
Oh, I see. I misunderstood.
That's all right. No, we'll go to 4. We'll go to 4. Hell yeah.
So let's talk about technology a minute as we move into the 5G world. There's a lot of concern about Huawei, of course, and again, another country that seems to be stepping away from China. The UK announced that from next year on, it'll be illegal for telecom operators to buy 5G equipment from Huawei. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think Huawei is a good example of what's happening in numerous areas that China focuses upon. Huawei is one which has such enormous national security implications that it really opened a lot of eyes and made people more aware of the threat. But here's a circumstance where China has basically said, look, one of the technologies of the future is 5G. We as a government are going to invest massively in 5G technology, and then we're going to price our products well below cost so that no Western company could possibly compete. And by virtue of that strategy, they've kept Western companies from making the investments in new technology and innovation that would allow the Western enterprises to compete. And so the telecoms that need equipment are obviously going to buy the equipment that's low cost and that has been developed by China. And this is an approach they have rolled out in industry after industry. They did it first in steel. A decade or so ago, they had 5% of the world's steel market. Today, they have 53% of the world's steel market. They didn't happen to do that just by skill, foresight on industry. They subsidized industry. They priced their products massively below cost and drove the Western companies out of business. They have done that with regards to 5G. My own view is this, and I can't impose this view on our nation, let alone other nations, but my own view is that on technologies that are key to our national defense, that we ought to insist that free nations only buy those products from other free nations. And that nations that are not free, that are authoritarian, and that have military designs against the West, that they cannot be the source of key products that become part of our national defense infrastructure.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
Yep, that's what they're now. The UK is trying to persuade all of the European Union to get rid of Huawei.
No, they probably should.
Yeah.
But let's play this last clip, and then I'll be done. You can take over.
Well, you recall the comments of Deng Xiaoping a long time ago, where he said that that China should bide its time, that it should build its strength quietly, and not, if you will, wake up the sleeping giant of the West. And they have pursued that strategy for the last decade or so. But in the last few years, they obviously have recalculated and said, you know what, we've already established the kind of strength we need, and we no longer need to hide our ambition. And so they speak openly of their ambition to dominate the world economically, militarily, geopolitically, and they're exerting their influence and exerting their military might and their economic might, in part by saying there's nothing the West can do about it. And they look at us, I think it's less a matter of COVID and seeing us distracted from COVID, and more a matter of seeing the absence of American leadership in bringing together the nations of the world to confront the unfair practices that China is pursuing.
Oh, man, I can't believe I didn't vote for you, Romney. It would have been the guy.
Goes on, the part that I didn't clip because it's so boring, he talks about how to resolve this. And he didn't get voted in because I didn't realize it until I listened to this. He's basically John Kerry that doesn't get quite as wound up in his own words. He wants to set up a bunch of committees and let's do some meetings and we'll take care of this China thing by getting the other people to cooperate. We won't be doing things unilaterally. In other words, do nothing. But, at least he makes the right points.
So I believe now that after 5 clips of John Kerry violating the no John Kerry clip rule, I think we remember why.
This is not John Kerry. This is Mitt Romney.
He sounds just like John Kerry. Wasn't there a Mitt Romney rule, too?
I think, we could make it a rule, but it wasn't a rule at the time of the show. He needs to talk a little slower.
That'll help. Well, he's not wrong, of course. K-Ball Sagar, which is my name for them now. Crystal Ball and what's his name? Sammy Hagar? Sagar?
Just Sagar.
Sagar. They had on the authors of Hidden Hands, exposing how the Chinese Communist Party is reshaping the world. And have a quick 3 clips here from that interview. I think it's enlightening as we start off with the influence on the Bushes.
One area in particular that I saw, which was cited in Axios, was about influence operations here in the United States, namely former President George W. Bush's brother, Neil Bush. Could you detail how exactly he's being influenced by the Chinese regime?
Yes, well, Neil Bush was targeted by an organization known as the CPAFFC, the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries, which has been very active in the United States, mainly at the kind of subnational level, targeting state governors, sister city relationships, and that kind of thing. Neil Bush seemed to be a prominent target. He has business connections in China and Hong Kong, and he somehow seemed to take on CCP messaging. And, of course, the money started to flow into a think tank that he was associated with, and the think tank started to push out pro-Beijing messaging, and Neil Bush himself would go to China or Hong Kong for CCP-sponsored conferences and really mouth the talking points of the CCP. And it's a kind of classic story of elite capture.
You know this is going on everywhere. And here's what bugs me. How come we're not getting this treatment? How come no one has approached us? We'd be perfect to show for the Chinese.
We'd be everything but perfect.
Here's K-Ball asking how it works.
Well, and Clive, could you give us kind of a bird's eye view of how that influence works? How does it operate, and what is the ultimate strategy?
Well, what the CCP does is it puts into place a very sophisticated and often very subtle process of psychological manipulation. I mean, I think it's accurate to describe it as grooming. And they identify and target key members of elites, political, business, academic elites, as people who might be induced one way or another to be drawn into the circle of CCP influence. So they're very much focused on individuals. It's a very clever and subtle process. And so we track how this happens. Certain individuals, such as very prominent academics like Jeffrey Sachs, like former political leaders, like former Prime Minister Paul Keating here in Australia, who somehow get drawn into this CCP view of the world and get rewarded for it through sinecures, through flattery, through meetings with Xi Jinping, and so on.
So I'm listening to this. I'm thinking, that's not a big deal. We do that stuff. Everybody does that stuff. I think that we just do it with hookers, which is probably old. It's old now. It's like people want money. They just want cash. They want trips. They want expensive dinners. They want jets. Hookers just doesn't work anymore. As we wrap it up with exactly this question from Sagar.
Mm-hmm. And Clive, what would you say to people who say, this is relatively benign? Foreign countries do this all the time. They try to influence political discussion around the world. What's really the harm here?
Well, yes, of course, countries, particularly big countries, do try to have influence in other nations, but there's a difference between influence and interference, and there's a nice definition of it here in Australia, where we're kind of 3 years down the track to most other countries in understanding this, and we define, even in our new law against foreign interference, foreign interference is influence that's covert, coercive or corrupt. And so the thing about CCP's influence, and we're not talking about China here or Chinese people, stress that, we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, is that it's secretive, it's coercive, and it goes on behind the scenes. So it's hidden the way it works. And this is why when we, Marika and I, for example, in our book, call people out, they become very upset because suddenly the CCP agents who've been operating undercover, as it were, that is agents of influence, have their cover blown. And so in the United Kingdom, for example, 2 of those people have sent legally threatening letters, claimed that we've defamed them because, we're telling lies. But in fact, what we're doing is just lifting the cover off, shining light on the CCP's activities. And the one thing the CCP loves to do, that is operate in the shadows, which is the wonder of a democracy with a free press, that we can actually put the spotlight on them.
So Australia is all over that. They are way ahead of everybody else. 3 years?
Yeah, he said they're like a couple of years ahead. I agree, because I've been watching the ABC Australia's, maybe on ABC, I'm not sure. But anyway, 60 Minutes Australia. They're all on the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot of China reports, and they're all depressing. China's taken over the entire South China Sea. They're creating a blockade arena.
Yeah,
and it's like, and then then we get a note from Catherine who says, I'm a big fan of China, and you guys are hating on China. Don't care about China. It's boring, she says. And
wait, boring?
That's what she said.
Huh.
I take her seriously. She's one of our long-term listeners.
Well, I think it's
like Dame Tanya.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be very interesting when that dam finally breaks. I've been reading about that for 2 months.
I see the dam breaking. That dam's breaking is going to be a huge problem.
It's like everybody's waiting for the dam to break. Is it now? Is it raining?
It's possible that the dam breaking is like Yellowstone going off.
Yeah, that's possible.
I've been hearing for 20 years. Oh, Yellowstone's going to go off. It's going to exterminate all human beings.
Yeah, but
which you probably would if it went off.
The way this dam story, and it's the story about the dam, keeps coming back is odd. Did you get this feeling? It's like it keeps going, oh yeah, this is crazy, it's going to happen. Like, no, I don't really see it. I keep hearing everyone about it. It's creaking. It's creaking now. No, I don't think so. Well,
if it goes, it goes. It'll be interesting.
Yes.
All of a sudden they'll put China in a bind for a while. But yeah.
Well, that's good that
we're following the China thing, whether anybody likes it or not. Nobody else is doing it.
Exactly.
These are all good reports. These are not us. These are not our opinions. We're deconstructing what we do, what we can, and then we're adding insight where we can, and we're playing clips of people that are telling us stuff like what Pompeo did. What Pompeo talked about is non-trivial. He's the Secretary of State. He's an ex-CIA guy. When he talks, you should at least listen. He's not a Flibbertigibbet. Not a flake like they try to make him out to be.
Flibbertigibbet.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
And luckily, we do have a few people to thank for show 1263.
Yes, indeed, we do.
I'm going to run through them. I do have a couple of notes I want to read during the process that came in, handwritten and interesting. Laura Wilson's at the top of the list from Seattle, Washington. Hope to see it or meet up one of these days. Jordy Seaton, she came in with 150. Jordy Seaton came in with 100 from Thornhill, Ontario. Got a birthday call out. And that's all listed, ready to go. Eduardo Calderon in Plano, Texas, 100. The Duke of Luna, His Grace Kevin McLaughlin.
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
Locust, North Carolina, 8008. He says, I love America and boobs.
Me too, Bo. We're on the same page.
It's not a stretch.
No, it's all good.
Some of it might be a stretch.
Yeah.
but not the American part. Paul Wagner in Middleton, Ohio, 8008. Boobs. Marty, now this one, as a letter came in, and I don't know. Why don't you take a shot at pronouncing that last name?
I would say Tsagrinos. Marty Tsagrinos. That's got to be pretty close.
Yeah, I guess. It starts with a T, so it makes it tough. All right, Marty sent in a where is Marty on this list? She sent in a note on from a Las Vegas report, so I have to read it.
Okay.
I have for all that. Oh, thanks for all you do. I am a JRE listener, and I'm glad I decided to see what Adam has been up to post MTV.
Oh, welcome.
This is funny. Yeah. You have. I'm sorry. You have. Let's see. There was some broken. Oh, nuts! You have challenged me to tea party my own Trump hate. To look past. I'm sorry, I can't read today. Now I have that ever broken clock is right twice a day. Have you for? No, this is not the Las Vegas report. Anyway, says thanks.
Well, hold on.
Rogan donation.
At least we take the Rogan donation credit. We'll take that, no matter what that was.
Okay, let's go. That was 7777. Coincidentally, the next letter that came in is a Miami report, not a Las Vegas report. And this came in from Joe Weish, one of our longtime listeners, longtime supporters, first-time donors. No, he's donated before. Quick message from Miami. The surge apparently has arrived in South Florida and Miami, or Little Wuhan, as we call it.
I like that. Little Wuhan.
Little Wuhan. About a week ago, an infectious disease doctor at the University of Miami compared the situation in Miami to that of Wuhan earlier in the pandemic. Miami is now the epicenter of the pandemic, quote unquote. We are seeing what Wuhan was 5 to 6 months ago. I guess the good news is we don't have a large infectious viral laboratory in Miami, nor do we have any wet markets selling dog or snake meat or tender bat wings.
Yummy, yummy.
City of Miami Beach just slapped an 8 p.m. curfew on South Beach and the entertainment district. The county curfew is now from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Other than that, things are great here in Little Wuhan.
All right.
Each on the ground. Onward with Sir McQueen of Blighttown in Wayne, Pennsylvania. He's got a birthday coming up for himself. Jason Perry, also a birthday, 6969. Sir McQueen was 7280. Sir Gary Blatt.
Oh, hold on. Jason Perry it's his second donation. He has another douchebag call out for Bob Raymond.
Douchebag. And Raymond Liu.
Oh, Bob Raymond Liu, yes. And he's also, Jason is on the birthday list. He'll be turning 44. Thank you.
Sir Gary Blatt in Wayne, Pennsylvania, 6660. Simon Smith in Heber City, Utah, 6333. David Forbes, 6006 in Shapokee.
Shapokee. How about Shapokee?
Yeah, probably is Shapokee. Minnesota nuts. Sir Christopher Kessler in Marshfield, Wisconsin, 5510. Sir Lee Mofo, also 5510 in Tucson, Arizona. Profound thanks, he says. Charles Thompson, 5510 in Upton, Kentucky. All of a sudden, the 5510 has returned.
Double nickels on the dime is rocking, I know. It's people like it.
Matthew Yoders from Albany, Oregon, 5510. Joseph Monaco, 55.
Also, by the way, a donation for your Be Safe, Go F Yourself. People, you should do that more often.
I save it.
It seems to work.
Just cuss randomly.
I think it's worth more than double nickels on the dime, though. I mean, I think a good FU from John is up there.
We got to get more. We don't know. Sir Phenom of the Patriots Nation in Appleton, Wisconsin, 5353. And he's got a birthday. Sir J-Boy in Aldie, Virginia, 5280. Jonathan Evans in 5150 from New Orleans. Dame Moneypenny, 5150. I haven't heard from her for a while. She's in Davis.
No, that has been quite a while. How you doing, Dame
We
Moneypenny?
got some large note from someone.
Well, that's Dame Tanya. We read that one earlier. She also donated with her note, which is what's so sweet about her.
Dame
yes,
Tanya,
of course.
How much was it?
5142. The answer to all the questions in the universe.
Yeah. Okay. Can you read the next one as I get this?
Sure. Garrison Lewis, $50. I was having lunch with Sir Gene at a place on East Oldtorf in Austin, and we're sitting there, and Gene is going on. I mean, I love Gene, man. Who is the Duke of Texas, and he's talking about Brett and Eric Weinstein and the 14 dimensions of the universe, and so I'm like, oh wow, all right. I'm just soaking it all up, and then this guy comes over and says, "Hey, are you Adam Curry?" And I say, yeah. He says, in the morning. He said, look at my amygdala. My amygdala. It's completely shrunken. So here's his note. He donated. It was a pleasure meeting you at the cafe the other day. Thanks to the both of you for keeping my amygdala small, keeping it real. I would like a dedouching for my lack of donation history. God bless you all. Sure.
You've been dedouched.
All right, man. Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Curiously, Jesus Allen coughs up $50 from Austin, Texas. These are $50 donors. I'll just name them and the location. Amanda Strasser, birthday girl in Rochester, New York, on behalf of her husband. Chris Grummel in Kingston, New York. Tristan Martins in Milwaukee. Mitchell Kaufman in Hillsboro, Oregon. Todd Grubb in Capic, Michigan. Julian Robbins in Aptos, California. And last but not least, Robley Hall in Hillsboro, North Carolina. I want to thank these folks for contributing to the show and producing show 1263. We got another show coming up on Thursday. Hope we can get pick it up a little bit. It would be nice.
And also thanks to everyone who came in under $50, which is the cutoff for anonymity, but also just because it's a cutoff. People are on subscriptions. I'd like you to consider that as well. If you look at Dvorak.org/NA, you can see 33s, 1111s, $5, all kinds of different things. You can just keep that going, even if you want to support at a different level on an individual show. We thank all of those people and our executive and associate executive producers, because it is you, and without you, we would not be able to produce the best podcast in the universe. That's why it's the best, according to the Mueller Report.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Let's give everybody a jobs karma.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Here's our list for the 26th of July, 2020. Jordy Seaton says, happy birthday to her husband, Aaron Seaton, who turns 46 today. Happy belated birthday to Philip Johnson. He was celebrated on the 23rd of July. Sir Hoopensoccer says, happy birthday to Miss Audrey Hertert Hoopensoccer, who turned 11 turns 11 tomorrow, actually, on the 27th. Sir McQueen of Blighttown will be celebrating on the 28th, as will Jason Perry. He turns 44. And Sir Phenom also celebrating on July 28th. Happy birthday for everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Let me see what we have here. Oh, yes.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Nice changes. Don't want to be a douche.
It's a small change, but we do want to make note of it. Sir Economic Hitman has now become the Baron, and he has claimed his barony, Sir Economic Hitman Baron of Congressional Dish. And we thank you, sir, for supporting the No Agenda show. And I have a special knighting, which I'd like to read the note for. This is from Tim Goudrian, who is being bestowed with a knighthood for his outstanding work on the new noagendashow.com and .net website. He put a lot of work into it. He's made the code available on GitLab or GitHub or wherever it is. It's all on the website. It incorporates so much. It's so appreciative that, like many of our huge website producers, they become knights. And I shall read his note here, as we requested that he choose a title, etc. And he says he wants a big shout out to Leo Laporte for introducing him to the spot on tech reporter John C. Dvorak. As a humble producer of our little tribe, Tim says, I gladly accept this knighting and would hereby like to be known as Sir Tim Goudriaan, Knight of the JIT Shenanigans, JIT, as to always remember the tragedy that happened to the passengers of MH17. That's the Joint Investigation Team that seems to be lying for years about what really happened. And as he says, the fake international political chess game that followed it, which has brought me here today. Please make sure there are raketjes and bitterballen at the round table with lots of bong hits. Thank you for your courage. Are you familiar with the bitterballen?
No, I'm not.
That's the little, like croquettes, only they're balls, and there's ragu in there. And you must have had them when you were in Holland. You dip them in a little bit of mustard. They're usually so hot they burn the roof of your mouth. No?
Maybe. I don't know. I eat.
Anyway, let's bring out the swords for this fine gentleman. I've got mine ready. Okay, this is the special JIT. Well, you got to get up here now, Tim. Come on. And I've got your roundtable request ready for you. Thank you very much for really supporting the No Agenda show in an outstanding manner with the unbelievable value of that beautiful website. And I'm very proud to pronounce you, Sir Tim Goudriaan, Knight of the JIT Shenanigans. For you, of course, we've got hookers and blow, we've got rent boys and Chardonnay, but by request, raketjes and bitterballen with lots of bong hits. We've got zucchini and meatloaf, pog and poi, English muffins and butter and honey, fish pie and fellatio. We've got redheads and rye, bong hits and bourbon, vodka and vanilla, geishas and sockeye, ginger ale and gerbils. And if you want some, we always have mutton and meat. And Sir Tim, go over to noagendanation.com/rings, and the shill will gladly take care of you. We'll get that out to the Netherlands. And thank you very much for supporting the best podcast in the universe. No Agenda Meetup. Lots of meetups happening, lots of stuff going on. I have a quick rundown. So actually, we have a couple of reports. We saw some donations come in earlier. We have a report from the Doubleheader Meetup. That was the Road America Doubleheader Meetup. It was a big success, says Todd Squidbuzz, who organized it. In attendance were Lisa from Detroit, Rio from Madison, a.k.a. Little Moscow, Sherry and Eric from Chicago. Not a big group, but a fun group. Lisa traveled the farthest by car because she wanted to see the racetrack again after being there many years ago. Rio was there with some friends that, even after getting hit in the mouth, were not convinced about No Agenda. Sherry and Eric drove up to enjoy Wisconsin freedom. Sherry and the group are calling Eric out as a douchebag. Me, well, I flew in from Portland and represented Local 33 to get away from West Coast stuff. I did attempt to hit my brother in the mouth earlier over the weekend, but I don't think it stuck. Thanks to all for attending. Thanks again, Adam and John, for the best podcast in the universe. Todd Squidbuzz Strobel from Vancouver, Washington. Here is an audio meetup report from the Flight of the No Agenda 005 meetup.
Okay, everybody, we're here.
Oh, by the way, apparently either someone was speaking out of their butt or they recorded this on the phone. I don't know. It has a very unique sound to it.
Okay, everybody, we're here at the No Agenda meetup at Steelcraft in Long Beach. Here's our first guest with some words to say. Hey guys, I'm a douchebag. My brother hit me in the mouth, and in the morning to you, this is Slick Rick. It is the Millers here. We're the parents of the Plague Mask Girl, crazy family, I think he called us, crazy house. And we're just having a good time with great people in the morning.
All right, this is Angie. I'm here with Veronica. We are here. We've got slapped in the mouth by my brother Leo, who is hosting this event here in the morning.
Hey, this is Alex. My first meeting ever, and I'm here giving you the whole load straight from Long Beach. I'm not good at improvising, so. Hey, this is Eric, the computer. Don't forget to visit thewholeload.com.
Yeah. Okay.
All that was missing from that report was over.
Let me know what you think.
Over.
Greater Seattle post-Rona vitamin D hike meetup report. We had a number of producers go on a hike. In the morning, Adam and John, the meetup was a success. 13 members of the No Agenda family hiked Tiger Mountain trails in Issaquah on a beautiful Tiger Mountain on a beautiful Issaquah in in Issaquah on a beautiful sunny day. I got to meet one of them, had a great time. My primary trail choice was still closed due to COVID-19. In hindsight, picking a trail system with multiple access points was a bad backup choice. I hope to meet more of the family. Please don't disown me on a future hike meetup. You got it. Here's a fine. What is this one? This is another report, audio report.
Okay, everybody, we're
Wait, we already had that one. Huh. Maybe this was the report from them. There we go.
In the morning, John and Adam. This is the other half of the post-Rona vitamin D meetup in Seattle, Washington. I am Kel. I'm still a colossal douchebag, and with me is...
And this is Bryce, and I am shocked at how many people I just saw on a trail with masks on.
Hey, this is Thomas, ITM.
I don't listen to the podcast.
Thank you for your courage. Shut up, slave.
Here's what's coming up meetup-wise on Wednesday. The City Park Denver Museum of Nature and Science. John and Taylor organizing the Denver City Park sit-in at 6 o'clock. Friday, the Northeast Kent, Southeast London British Summertime Meetup. That'll be at 3:30. British time, obviously. Bring a cat meme to the Real Ale Way. GWFF is organizing. And Friday, What's Cookin' Oregon, Local 33, 6 o'clock. That'll be Cook Park in Tigard. Details at noagendameetups.com. Tim is organizing. And that is exactly what you want to do. Go to noagendameetups.com. Find a meetup near you. Go hang out with people who will not condemn you for anything. Above all, just go hang out, be yourself, be clumsy. No one will care. You'll have a good time. We guarantee it. noagendameetups.com. It's kind of like a party.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody feels the same. It's like a party.
I just got a couple of clips I'd like to share with some news that I feel was not really broadcast very far and wide. And the first one is about air safety.
The FAA issued this emergency inspection order to all airlines and operators with 737s, and it all has to do with an engine shutdown issue. Now, the FAA says the problem is so severe that it could result in what they call a forced off-airport landing, and that there have been at least 4 recent incidents with these critical engine valves. The issue happening in part because so many planes have been parked and not used during this pandemic. Now, here's what the FAA is saying. Quote, corrosion of these valves on both engines could result in a dual engine power loss without the ability to restart. This condition, if not addressed, could result in compressor stalls and that dual engine power loss without the ability to restart, which could result in a forced off-airport landing. And don't forget, the 737 right now is one of the most popular airplanes in service around the world.
Yeah, this is why you don't want your airplane sitting still not doing anything. They really don't get better over time. This is a serious problem.
I'd say.
Yeah. It's and it's really just because it's been sitting out there in the desert or wherever they've been storing them. That's the problem. So now they have to. I mean, if you have a quit, I mean, this engine out, it's like a flame out. It's, it's complete. The pilots are trained for this, but it really shouldn't be happening. It should be attended to, I would say. Or is this just another brick in the wall of the Airbus Boeing fight? Who knows?
Well, the deserts, all I know is you can go out to the desert and see where these planes are, and I think you can just go out there and screw with them. Yeah. You can probably camp in one.
Nah, it's not, people not screwing with them. I don't see
any guards around there. I've flown over these areas.
Yeah, they're not screwing with them. You're a real conspiracy theorist now. It's dust and sand and shit that gets in the engines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't trust the pilot, whatever you do.
I trust the pilot.
That's me.
I'm
the pilot.
Manufacturers.
Okay.
All right. I got one last clip.
Okay.
It says you brought them up. You brought up K-Ball and Sagar.
I did.
I like K-Ball, by the way. So they're doing a little report on the jobless claims. I want to preface it with my kind of take on this. So the two of them, and I've seen this with other reporters too, especially Democracy Now!, they're all upset because the jobless numbers have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
because they've been going down, and they went up.
Right.
And of course, there was a shutdown, and then as we get away from the shutdown, we start reopening. The numbers get better and better, and then everybody shuts down.
Yeah.
So consequently, I think the logic would be, the unemployment numbers would change for the worse because now we've gone back, we've retroed on this whole thing, right?
And how about California with its 40 million inhabitants who closed all bars and restaurants again? Of course, people are out of work now.
So the thing will go up again, but no. This is a stunner, apparently, if you listen to these two.
We've got some breaking news this morning. New jobless claims rose for the first time that we've seen during the pandemic. 1.4 million Americans over the past week filed for unemployment. That's in contrast to 1.3 million last week, which is where we've been for a few weeks. And this is the 18th straight week in which more than 1 million Americans are filing for unemployment.
Yes, and especially what's concerning about this is from the Washington Post, Heather Long, who's an economics reporter there, is that this is actually for the first time that it has risen after 15 straight weeks of decline. So remember that we had that initial spike and then things began to trend down. We were sitting around 1.3 million jobless claims filed per week, week over week for pretty much 3 or 4 weeks now.
Right.
This has the first time that we've seen the increase.
You know, now that I consider it, we've been very gracious with K-Ball and Sagar. We've played a lot of clips. I've been interested in their reporting. You know, a lot of people like them. But so far, they've jacked me up over unsealed documents, which they haven't reported correctly, really. So I'm all jitty about something coming out in a week, and that's not going to happen. And now they're just failed to understand some basics. I think we're moving towards a K-Ball and Sagar ban on the show.
Well, it's hard to get a ban on them because they do have some funny material, and it's not like it's boring. But I think taking them seriously should be banned.
Let's start there. I'll begin. And we're going to call it a day. And for those of you listening live, thank you for sticking with it. We had a number of technical issues. Let's see. We lost a couple hundred people between the beginning and the end, but still well over 1,100. And we would like to thank all of you who supported the show, our execs, our associate executive producers, all producers, and remind you to help us out again by going to Dvorak.org/NA. Help us out for the Sunday show. We're looking forward to doing it for you. There will be tons of stuff to deconstruct. After end of show mixes, we've got Fletcher, Tom Starkweather, we've got Jesse Coy Nelson, and MoFax with Adam Curry coming up next on NoAgendaStream.com. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, FEMA region number 6 in the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where things just drag along, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday right here. We'll see you here to produce another episode of No Agenda. Until then, adios, mofos, and such.
You are about to witness the stupidity of extreme progressivism.
It's not exactly an inviting image that would draw locals or tourists to visit. More boards went up today on the federal courthouse.
Straight out of Portland, a crazy man named Wheeler, who is also the police commissioner. When there's a riot, he gotta try it. During the crowd, he gonna get loud. Boo-hoo, the people ain't with him. His police had to go and rescue him. He's an ass, just for going out. He's a stupid ass ice cream and sauerkraut.
Use your words, what are you doing? Use your words, what are you doing? Use your words.
Straight out of Portland.
There's graffiti in many places, but especially on the base that held the elk statue for more than 100 years.
I mean, mainstream Americans, the silent majority, we're actually kind of tired of seeing these anarchists destroying our city. And we would like to see the police step up and take care of these people.
In downtown Portland.
Straight out of Portland.
The bad restaurant and bar owners are going to make it worse for the good ones.
7,000 restaurant owners to construct makeshift platforms for outdoor dining, which over the past 2 weeks have been perched precariously near traffic.
We were not opening outdoor bars. We were opening outdoor dining. We never said we're opening block party bars.
Governor Cuomo sounds the alarm again, worried about younger people going to bars and spreading COVID-19.
That is the only line between anarchy and civilization.
It's tough because we can't really control what other people are doing, outside of the establishment.
We're not even going to be able to get anyone inside for at least the foreseeable future. It's even worse.
If it happens, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have to roll back the opening plan.
Don't you like promo questions?
How did I get associated with chips? I don't know. There's nothing wrong with promo chips. I enjoy them. Jimmy, I had nothing to do with it except explain the situation to the people of the state and ask them to do the right thing and step up. And they did.
But it is still not my impulse to say wide-scale shut down businesses or wide-scale fines, because I really think that backfires in terms of what we're trying to achieve of getting people back to work.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to collect unemployment, so that, I think, made it a lot easier to get through, but that's now quickly changing.
The number of congregations that we've seen across the state, but especially in downstate, primarily of young people. When I cook it, they just won't eat it, but they move it around the dish, and that's all I can ask.
This is a very important job. It's really something that's been great. You need stamina. You need physical health, and you need mental health. Stamina. I asked the doctor, I said, is there some kind of a cognitive test? Stamina. Because I've been hearing about it. Because Joe should take that test. Because stamina. Something's going on, and he's crazy. Oh, he's incompetent. And I say this with respect. Like a memory question. It's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. Person, woman, man, stamina, TV. Camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy. Okay, that's very good. Because I'm cognitively there. Okay, that's very good. But we have to have somebody that's sharp, because I'm cognitively there. Because I can tell you, President Xi is sharp. He wants to take over the world. President Putin is sharp. He's going to take over the world. Erdogan is sharp. He's a dictator. And you have to be sharper than them. Because I want to shut these people up. If you get it in order, you get extra points. And I got a perfect mark. If you get it in order, you get extra points. But as soon as they announced my score and that test, all the stuff went away about me. Is he competent? Remember, they're talking about 25th Amendment and nonsense.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Flibbertigibbet.